I don't want to hear no complaining about how I'm dressed, okay? The hat's staying on. I didn't have time or the inclination to do my hair. And my hair is very disagreeable. It takes a lot of work to get it to look as uninteresting as it normally does. Otherwise, it's just a big mop in my head. I tweaked my dang back the other day. I was on the couch, I was watching 12 Angry Men, and I got lazy because it was late, and I was leaning. Hurt my dang back. All right, old man, yeah. Yeah, it's like that. New bald spot? You wish. First time watching? 12 Angry Men? Since I was very little. Yeah. What were those 12 men doing? Why were they so mad? Well, I'll be honest with you. It was mostly just 2 or 3 of them that were mad, okay? Most of them were fine. Hello, Capella. The ones that were mad were really mad, you know? Who are the most base jurors in 12 Angry Men? That, for me, that's easy. That's an easy one, okay? Juror number 8, juror number 9, and I believe, if I'm remembering the order correctly, juror number 4. Them's the big ones. Juror number 4, Sigma male. Right there. Seated right until the end, thought the kid was guilty, had one piece of evidence he had turned over in his head, got challenged. He was like, okay. That was a machine logic up here. Phenomenal stuff, really. What do you think of Juror 12? Juror 12 was the immigrant, right? He was fucking great, too. He was great, too. The only one there who believed in America. One of the only ones. No, yeah, 12 was the flippant one. Sorry, 12 was the advertiser. I'm thinking of Juror 10. Fellow with the mustache. 11? It was 11. Okay, sorry. I was actually trying to keep it straight in my head. Yeah, 10 was the racist. 3 was the one with anger issues. 6 was the one who didn't give a shit because he had the Yankees game. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to keep it all in head. Love the roll of the collar on that shirt. It's from Wythe. You've got a discerning eye. Yeah, that's from Wythe. It's a little big on me, but I was between sizes. Unfortunately, they just had small, medium, large, extra large, so I took XL for the roominess in the shoulder. And it does feel nice to be able to roll your shoulders fully. I might get some darts put in around the waist, though. Thank you, Miss Genderlin. Juror 2 was dorky as fuck. Dude, his voice was incredible. Incredible. They don't make him like that anymore, you know? Redditor? Don't debase him like that. When we get into the political shenanigans. Nintendo. It has been 3 minutes since the start of stream. You need to see a doctor about your attention deficit disorder, okay? They make medicine for that, my bad. You're right, it is. But I appreciate you recognizing that. Sheesh. I just came back from watching Superman for the 3rd time. Beat Man of Steel, finally. Thank God. Anything that makes the Snyder heads angry. Honestly. Yo, I'm going to see Superman tonight. It's real good. It's real good. It's real good. Is Superman actually good? Yes. Yes, it is. I'm going to DC for 3 days next week. Any Rex? No, I've only been to DC for work. I haven't really, like, vacationed over there, you know? Not really. Just have a good time walking around. You got stopped by Secret Service in DC once, right? Yeah. When I was just a little guy, just 19 or something. Yeah. Share the story. Well, it's not that interesting. I went over to Baltimore to visit a friend of mine. We decided to, you know, travel around. We spent a little bit of time in DC. Less than 24 hours. I mean, I just saw, you know, Capitol Building, Lincoln Memorial, that kind of stuff. And while walking around with my friends, I was talking about, you know, because DC is a fortress city, you know? Makes sense, right? It's where the president is. But you can see it everywhere. Checkpoints and tank traps, and you know that building it doesn't serve any like residential or civil purpose. There's probably some kind of security purpose to it. You know, there's probably anti-air over there. It's, you know, the whole, you can see it when you're looking around DC. You can see it. Anyone live in DC, you can confirm this. Maybe it's just normal to you, but coming from a city that isn't DC, you go to DC and it's like, oh my God, you know, the whole city is designed with that in mind. Anyway, I was talking about that loudly with my friend. We ended up getting stopped by Secret Service. Fellow was following us for a while, tall guy in a suit with shades, and I was like, there's no way. We rounded a corner, and yep, there was a car pulled up. Got talked to for an hour. Just a standard, you know, are you a terrorist? Do you have any weapons? Blah, 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 that sort of thing. They're busy. Well, not too busy or they wouldn't have stopped us, but they got to do something to fill up time. Can't tell if this is a bit. It's not a bit. It was 18 or 19 or something like that. I guess it was a slow day. I mean, what else are they going to do, I suppose? Yeah, one of the guys wanted to go home. The people we were being interviewed by first were detectives, and a couple of... I don't know if there's a detective rank in the Secret Service. I have no idea. I guess they were operating as detectives. But then a guy showed up later in a second car, and he must have been a senior detective because he talked like he had authority over everyone else. And he showed up, and he basically said, they're going to ask you if you have any more, or if there are any more questions you want to answer with us, and you're going to say no because I don't want to do the paperwork, you know. And then the first detective said, you know, will you be willing to come with us and answer more questions? And my friend and I looked at each other and we said no. And they shrugged, and then they went off, and the senior detective said, all right, thank you. Hello, Capella. Yeah, that's when they recruited me. Pella seems friendly today. She's locked in here with me, so Pigeon gets a free run of the place. Well, you're not trying to leave, are you? Nah, you're just running around. What are you doing? What are you up to? What are you up to? Ah, she's just being playful. Wait, hold on. You said something about wrestling, then the agent placed a hand in the hand. Yeah. I was asked if I had any weapons on me, and the agent who was interviewing me, who was more of a grunt, I suppose, because he was wearing a traffic vest and he had a firearm on him. He had a submachine gun around his chest. Asked me if I had any weapons, and I said, well, I did wrestling in high school, so I guess my whole body's a weapon. And he put his hand on the on the grip of his SMG. Yeah, he was scared. He feared my my martial prowess. Do you think Secret Service guys are psychologically similar to cops? Yeah, probably. Probably a lot smarter, though. I mean, cops will reject you unless you're like 75 IQ. Figure that for the Secret Service, they probably prefer it if you're a little bit smarter. But yeah, probably the same fundamental, you know, fundamental brainworms. Definitely better trained. Cops get to embarrass themselves all they want. Doesn't really do anything, but Secret Service have, you know, they're expected to behave with a certain degree of, you know, decorum. You see the recent discourse about the removal of the Down syndrome chromosome? Yeah, I saw. It seems to me like pretty much everyone agrees it's a good thing, and people are just like making up a group of people to be upset about it. You know, like how much have you seen people saying that curing Down syndrome is genocide, and how much have you seen people talk about how they've seen people who have said curing Down syndrome is genocide? You know, we don't need to make discourse out of everything. I don't think it's genocide, but I do mourn the loss of an entire type of human. Well, I'm gonna find you and twist your dick into a pretzel so that when you die, the human race can mourn the loss of a unique individual. The hell are you talking about? Would you call it ethical eugenics? I I really feel like we've gotten ahead of ourselves with calling things eugenics. You know? I feel like we've gone a little overboard with it. Because eugenics used to mean, like, you identify the genes of people and you selectively breed them to try to produce genetically superior human beings, right? I feel like there is a far cry between that and, oh yeah, if your kid has like a disease in the womb, we can annihilate it and the kid's gonna be fine. You know, like there's a pretty big difference between those things. It's we need a different word. Yeah, genetic modification is the generic term, but I feel like eugenics is, because eugenics is tied up in so much classist and racist stuff, and there's just not any classism or racism in we've cured Down syndrome. It's just not. It's just they're not like the same social movement. Down syndrome is mostly a white gene. Sure, I'll believe it. Yakubian. Like how a lot of deaf people don't want deafness to be cured. See, I wonder how much this is overstated too. You know, a human race where people are free from these kinds of debilitating genetic or inherent conditions is better. You know, not because you're getting rid of the folks who are deaf, but because nobody who otherwise might not be deaf has to suffer deafness. I don't know. Wait until the deaf community hears about this. That's true. That's pretty true. Hey, Vosh, Pink Spade, the Texas queer group just dissolved? What the fuck are you talking about? Did somebody sneeze somewhere? I worked for many years in a lab on preliminary CRISPR tech, and a lot of people say it's unethical due to its links to eugenics, but it's helping us to find cures to diseases. Yeah, I feel like we tend to boil these complicated subjects down a little bit too much. Is anyone familiar at all with the Mexican boot company Unmarked? Does anyone have any positive or negative experiences with them? Because their Bandito boots are on sale over at Blue Owl. And I don't have any Western boots. I think they're cute. They are suede, but black suede is a little easier to deal with. How much? 300? Look, for proper leather boots, that's fine. They had some other on sale, but they're not my size. Western loafers. Whoever heard of such a thing? Looks cool, though, right? And black, tooled Western loafers. Well, I think it's cute. Okay, nobody has any experiences with Unmarked. That's fine. I'm not mad. You better not be. Oh. Where would you recommend shopping for nice clothes that aren't that expensive? If only life was that easy, huh? You know where to get a girlfriend who will give sloppy top but won't tell you about her day at work? My friend. Gotta get good at thrifting. I know about Tacovas. I was just asking about unmarked tactical warhead. All right. Is denim supposed to be tight before it's broken in? What do you mean tight? Denim tends to stretch with use. Depends on the denim, though. Has it been stone washed, enzyme washed? How neppy is it, you know? Man. What does neppy mean? It means it's got a lot of nep. You stupid piece of shit. You motherfucker. I'm on to you. All right. Start with the easy stuff, suppose. Found out about this from a Zoran Mamdani tweet where he acknowledged it, said the right stuff, and had 50 million comments in reply saying, you caused this by defunding the police or something. Hello, CNN. What do you have for us today?
We're following breaking news here in New York City tonight, where officials say a suspected shooter inside a Manhattan office building has been, quote, neutralized. A law enforcement official tells CNN tonight that 4 people are dead, including an NYPD officer on the scene. Police believe that a man with a long rifle walked into a Park Avenue skyscraper just north of Grand Central Station this evening, with law enforcement sharing this photo of the person believed to be the gunman entering the building. You can see there in broad daylight with a...
I also think that's the gunman. What do you think the odds are he passed by a few cops in the way? They were just too busy looking at their phone. I've been to New York City. I've seen it myself. It's true. On the MTA or elsewhere.
Massive gun in his hand. It's that building that houses the corporate offices for the National Football League, Blackstone, and the accounting firm KPMG. Multiple law enforcement officers tell CNN the shooter was found dead inside the building from what officials believe to be a self-inflicted injury. Right now, the New York Police Department says they believe the shooter acted alone. And this hour, the mayor, Eric Adams, says police are searching the 634-foot building floor by floor. The FBI is on the scene right in the middle of the country's largest city to assist with the investigation tonight.
He wasn't going after Blackstone, though. Didn't he leave a note? Hold on. I might be ahead of myself here. Didn't he leave a note where he said he had a degenerative brain injury caused by the NFL, so he was going after... Yeah.
The breaking news this morning, new details in the deadliest mass shooting in New York City in 25 years. Security images show a gunman with an...
Really? Fuck. New York City is so safe. 4 people being shot as the deadliest mass shooting in 25 years? And New York City is the largest city in the country? That's crazy. Dude, we have ceded so goddamn much to the crime paranoia, man. That's insane.
M4 assault-style rifle walking into a skyscraper in busy Midtown Manhattan. This is near some of the city's most iconic venues and tourist attractions. Police say he opened fire inside the lobby, the elevator bank, and the 33rd floor, ultimately killing 4 people, including an NYPD officer, before taking...
4 killed, more people were shot. Oh, that's true, I suppose, if you count casualties, not just fatalities.
His own life. Investigators have identified the gunman as 27-year-old Shane Tamura, who drove cross-country from Las Vegas to that scene. Here's what else they revealed.
Drove from Las Vegas.
According to our law enforcement partners in Las Vegas, Mr. Tamura has a documented mental health history. His motives are still under investigation, and we are working to understand why he targeted this particular location.
Now, the building where the shooting occurred houses a number of businesses, including corporate offices for the NFL. A source telling CNN the gunman had a suicide note in his pocket, which expressed grievances with the NFL and also that he claimed to suffer from CTE, asking that his brain be studied. The NYPD officer who was killed has been identified as 36-year-old Didarul Islam, a 3.5-year veteran of the department. He leaves behind a wife and 2 sons. The couple also had another child.
Yeah, not to get too misty-eyed about cops in general, but the cop that was killed was an immigrant, had a kid on the way. Obviously, as soon as the shooting happened, of course, every right-wing propaganda outlet started screeching about how it's Tren de Aragua or MS-13 or, you know, some such thing. Yeah, how are they going to study the brain? He shot himself, right? Did he not shoot himself in the head? How are they going to study his brain? I guess you can study brains after they've been shot. I don't know. Brain science is crazy. You don't really think about it, but brains aren't magic. They're actually just like a blob of fat. In the chest? Balls on that man. Jesus Christ. Do you have any idea? Took his own life by shooting himself in the chest? He wanted them to scan his brain that badly? Jesus. Heart's almost instant? Yeah, if you get it. I know it's... Look, okay, I'm not saying you couldn't figure it out on an anatomy diagram. I'm just saying there's a reason who, when shooters tend to take their own life, they go for the head.
Way. Overnight, officials lined the streets outside a Manhattan hospital to pay tribute as his body was transferred. CNN's Omar Jimenez is at the scene of that shooting this morning. Omar, more details coming out overnight. What more you're learning?
Yeah, well, right now we walked over to try to see the exact entrance of this building. Officers are guarding the entrance. There are barricades in front of it as well. On this first morning since this deadliest shooting in New York in at least 25 years. You can see some of behind me. This happened on the tail end of rush hour. This is sort of the scene here. That is where this gunman walked in armed with a rifle, went into the lobby of this building and started...
Yeah, the note carried by the gunman, Shane Tamura, a former high school football player, referred to chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, a brain disease that's afflicted people who play contact sports. The disease can be definitively diagnosed only after death. That's kind of scary. Is that why he wanted to punch his own ticket? Because the only way to find out if you've got it is to examine the brain so invasively it kills the patient? You'd think there'd be a way to definitively diagnose that without killing the patient, but it's brain surgery, so that's complicated.
Opening fire, hitting and killing a New York City police officer, killing 2 others in the lobby before getting in an elevator, going to the 33rd floor, killing a 4th person there before turning the gun on himself. This police officer, 36 years old, father of 2, expecting a 3rd. Here's New York Mayor Eric Adams.
He was saving lives. He was protecting New Yorkers. He's an immigrant from Bangladesh, and he loved this city. And everyone we spoke with stated he was a person of faith.
That's great. Thank
Obviously,
you.
people continuing to mourn this morning over what happened.
I thought you didn't like immigrants, Eric. Eric's funny because he'll talk about how illegal immigration is a scourge and he needs to work with ICE. But at the same time, anytime you put a microphone up to his face, he comes across as the most, like, internationalist motherfucker in the world, you know? New York City is the Bangkok of America. New York City is the Istanbul of America. Like, he loves this shit, you know? He does love Turkey. He does especially love Turkey for obvious reasons. It's a low-cal meat, low-cal protein. Interesting, almost like he doesn't believe in anything. He's a funny guy. That's what matters most. Anyway, not much to say if he got these injuries, or alleged injuries, in high school. For what it's worth, though, the NFL has spent decades covering up the extent to which playing football causes these kinds of injuries. You know, there's a reason why football players and combat sports players, you know, MMA, UFC, whatever, all tend to be rapist, domestic abusers, such and suches, right? You take enough hits to the head, it fucks with your brain. It makes you more violent. I mean, you're probably pre-selecting for violent people anyway, because you've got the like biggest macho, you know, tough guy, testosterone, steroids. You know, you've got a social disposition. The kind of people who are willing to go into a sport like football or MMA probably are just more likely to be violent people. But then you compound that with the brain injury. Not good. Just about the only company that spends more time and money covering up brain injuries than the NFL has been the WWE. Jeez. That's why I think my favorite combat sport is tennis. Okay? I think we just need to rework the rules of tennis to make contact with the other player a desirable outcome, you know, with the ball. And I think you've basically got you've got like the perfect sport right there. It's like racquetball, except you're facing down your opponent who you're trying to murder with your serve. You said this bit already? It's not a bit. I believe it sincerely, and I've believed it since I was like 12 years old. It's not a bit. Decades now I've been saying this to everyone who will listen to me.
As for the shooter, we're learning new details about this person who was living in Las Vegas prior to driving across the country to this block where I'm standing and carrying out this shooting. And while we still don't know a motive at this point, a source with knowledge of the investigation tells CNN that there was a suicide note in his pocket alleging that he suffered from CTE, the brain disease linked to head trauma. And the offices here do hold the NFL, but we are still trying to figure out if that was a potential motive or instead a piece of the documented mental health history, which we have heard from the NYPD at this point. According to a memo, staff memo sent to staff by NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, a fifth person was shot.
Can I say something that might be a little bit racially insensitive, but I don't want to elaborate on it? I'm going to say it anyway. Between how this fella looks and what he's wearing, he looks like a martial artist. Does anyone else feel that way? He looks like, this looks like the read you'd get when filing a police report on somebody in like a Jackie Chan movie, and he's like the gang boss slash Taekwondo champion of Queens or something, and they have a face off in like a shipping yard or something, and they're jumping between like beams on the crane. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
An employee of the NFL. That person is in stable condition, but this office also holds companies like Blackstone, an investment firm, in this predominantly corporate part of Manhattan here, near, as you mentioned, many popular tourist attractions. And as people walk by, we're heading into another rush hour here on the morning side, and people are headed to work in the surrounding areas, obviously looking to see and asking questions about what happened here. But to give you an idea of what we might see ahead, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, in that memo to staff, said that they will see increased security at that building in the days and weeks to come as they piece through the latest on this investigation.
Increased security? What, do they think he had like a twin brother with the same grievance? Well, I know it's for people's feelings and everything. You know, it's just kind of a virtue signal, I guess. I don't know. You know, I know that this is never going to happen because we never take these issues seriously. I would like to know more about what was going on in this guy's personal life. You know? Because I still do think that the mass shooting epidemic is caused by social alienation. I think that in a world where everyone kind of knows their neighbor and people have got family and friends, when people withdraw and isolate or they become ill, it's more noticeable. I feel like in that world, stuff like this don't happen that often. And then in the world we live in today, where people can drop off the face of the earth, and the only person who notices is the guy running his Palantir, you know, profile. I mean, there's always exceptions, right? Yeah, but it's easier than ever to live in a community and not know any of your neighbors. Just makes me wonder.
The deadliest in New York City history in at least 25 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Omar, good to have you there on the scene. Thank you. John?
All right, with us now, CNN law enforcement analyst Jonathan Wackrow. Jonathan, great to see you this morning. We have a note, we have a weapon, there is a suspected gunman who is dead. Given all of that, what's happening in the investigation this morning?
Yeah, well, John, actually, I want to just reframe the incident just slightly before getting into where we are with the investigation, because, from our reporting, this appears to be a case of a grievance-driven attacker who arrived to New York with the targeted violence intent, most likely directed towards the NFL. However, he was either
worthless. It's already said in the damn note.
Again with the breaking news, and the search for answers now underway after a deadly shooting, a mass shooting inside a Manhattan skyscraper. 4 people are confirmed dead this morning, including an off-duty
Officer Didarul Islam was a son, husband, and father. He has 2.
I feel like the rhetoric around gun control and mass shootings kind of stopped progressing after 2018. Yeah, I think after, especially after like Uvalde or maybe the Las Vegas shooting, I think people just realized nothing was ever going to change. I've never really thought it was about the guns anyway. I understand. I argue with Chad on this. There are so many guns in America. They're never going to take them all away. To me, it's more about social. Like, one of the reasons the murder rate per capita is higher in some rural red states than it is in a place like New York City, even though you'd think logically New York City would be way more. New York City is more unequal, after all. Like, if you go to a bunch of, I don't know, shit-ass Mississippi towns, everyone's in the slums, basically, by virtue of living in those shit-ass Mississippi towns. In New York City, you've got homeless people sleeping underneath, skyscrapers, right? There's a lot more social inequality. You'd expect there to be more crime there, more murder, but there's not. It's the opposite. And I think that a big part of that is... it's not just firearm availability, because this same, you can see the same pattern out in Vermont, a lot of guns in Vermont or New Hampshire or whatever. I think it has more to do with the fact that people are a lot more isolated out there. They're left more on their own. A lot of those murders are domestic, the availability of the guns is a force multiplier that I feel like we don't have the logistical ability to manage on account of there being 50 trillion guns in the US. You can always get one if you want one. But I think that we could do a lot more to identify these underlying social patterns, these tendencies, why people flip off like this.
Children, and his wife is pregnant with their 3rd child. Today, Mayor Eric Adams talked about the fallen officer.
Rudin management, they implemented so many safeguards, and even to the point that they could have stopped the elevator from moving in any direction or bringing it back to the floor. But the security guard that was in charge of that operation was killed at the desk. He's an immigrant.
I mean, yeah, the ability to bring an elevator down isn't really meant to prevent a mass shooting if it's controlled by the desk, because the desk is encountered before the elevator.
From Bangladesh, and he loved this city. He's a true blue New Yorker, not only in the uniform he wore, but in his spirit and energy.
Why are they only focusing on the cop? 3 other people died. You know why.
In this city. And early tonight, I met with the officer's family. I told them that he was a hero, and we admire him for putting his life on the line.
Again, that was Mayor Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, talking about the fallen officer who was working a detail inside the lobby here. Multiple sources tell us the gunman entered this building, didn't say a word, and immediately started shooting. Again, a very heavy police presence out here as the evidence teams kind of go through the building on a...
In a streamer chat I was in, there were chatters that were angry at Zaran and saying he was glazing the police officer that died. Just tell me the first letter of the streamer chat. Out of curiosity. Don't tell me the streamer. Just tell me the first letter. I won't read it out loud. A lot of people listen only. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I see everyone's taking their guess. Yeah, I don't know. People really do not understand the relationship between the New York City mayor and the New York City Police Department. And I feel like the left is going to be tearing itself apart every single time they see Zaran Mamdani say something congratulatory to a police officer. Like, you get torn apart from both sides with this one. I'm heartbroken to hear of the horrific shooting in Midtown, and I'm holding the victims, their families, and the NYPD officer in critical condition in my thoughts. Grateful for all of our first responders on the ground. 10,000 comments. Mostly from right-wingers saying, I thought you were against police. I thought you wanted them to be shot by mass murderers. But also some lefties, I assume, being like, you know, why are you singling out the NYPD officer? Why are you congratulating them? Why can we never take any of our W's? Well, this ain't a W, right? It's just, you know, responding to a shooting. I don't know what else you'd expect him to say. I don't know.
Collecting evidence, but they tell us and they stress they believe he was a
is not believed to have had that background. Yet, on the other hand, you know, you don't know when traumatic brain injuries occur. You don't even know if this is any sort of a result of this, if this just happened to be the reason that he gave because he believed that he should be able to carry out this shooting. So obviously there'll be more work that needs to be done, more information that'll need to be gathered. He does reference the NFL and the power of the NFL in the course of the note. Don't really want to give him all the credit and read through the note from start to finish, but those are
wouldn't want to do journalism, you know? Yeah, wouldn't want to do journalism.
The theme. So it does appear, based on that, I think that's the reason why the mayor is suggesting that the NFL here appears to be kind of a focal point, given the fact that they're headquartered at that building, for why this individual may have chosen this particular address. We do have some details from the investigation showing that he made his way across the country, starting out 3 days ago in Colorado, then to Nebraska, Iowa, and then last seen on I-80 in New Jersey at 4:24 p.m. Yesterday afternoon. And that's just information that they were able to get from his license plate. By the way, his car was not properly registered. It was out of registration, but that license plate was valid. They were able to track it back to him, and they were able to look at these license plate cameras, you know, that you see at the gantries that we all drive under when we're on major interstates these days, and be able to track him to New York City.
So, Chris, what do you make of the...
Remember that brief era when journalists and commentators would refuse to say the name of the shooter? Yeah, it was like out of this well-intentioned but ultimately misguided effort, I think. Because the assumption was that the reason a lot of these shooters do what they do is in some final, like, blaze of glory and attention. Unfortunately, it don't work out that way, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you say their name or not. The attention is given. It gets said. It's not really, like, the reason why.
The CTE mentioned in the note, the fact that there were NFL offices in this building. I should note that NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has called this an unspeakable act of violence. Obviously, they're also dealing with trauma internally there. Is there a connection? What would investigators be doing with this note?
Well, looking at it yesterday while it was unfolding, along with the investigators that were on scene, I immediately went to, this looks like it's a targeted attack and not likely terrorism. You know, this is an individual who kind of moved with purpose, surprised the people in the lobby, had violence of action in the lobby to eliminate what he perceived as his barriers to getting upstairs. And once upstairs, you know, went to accomplish his mission, which was, you know, now what we believe is going after the NFL. And once, you know, he felt that he completed it, or he didn't think he'd go any further, then he committed suicide. And that, you know, is a pattern that you see in these targeted attacks. And so any idea that it was terrorism really kind of just went out the window quickly. The question about CTE, and we'll see what the autopsy shows.
I wonder if they're actually going to look for it.
You know, either he had a physical deficit, which probably should have prohibited him from having any weapons, or perhaps he was attributing to, as Tom was saying, his mental challenges to what he believed was CTE. Either way, this individual should have been prohibited from possessing a weapon. And I will also point to this weapon, and which has been widely debated. I carried it both in the military,
that's great, man,
and in the FBI. It has devastating effects.
Yeah, it's a bullet.
because you know, the velocity with what the round travels creates a massive cavitating effect in the body. So the survivability at close range is very challenging.
And so, Mark, we don't know the motive at this point. Obviously, this note may play into that, but how are investigators piecing together the shooter's movements inside the building?
All right, yeah, seems like morbid speculation at this point. Can you talk about how Tim Walz switched from about how he owns guns to being pro-gun ban once the Dem consultants got their clutch in him? I don't think he was ever actively anti-gun ban. I do think that being pro-gun ban cost the Democrats a lot politically for basically no gain. I don't really think they benefit at all. Will anything ever come of gun control? Well, it's complicated. I really don't think this is a gun thing. You can get guns so easily in the United States. Even in New York, if you want to. I do agree with longer waiting periods. Aren't there more guns than people? Yep. I think it's about ensuring mentally ill people don't get them. Look, there are forms of gun control that have positive outcomes. All I'm saying is that if somebody's gone crazy and they're willing to, like, premeditate a shooting, they can get their hands on a gun no matter what state of the union they're in. That's probably not going to change either. Some news sites tried to say a random Palestine protester pictured arrested 10 blocks away was the shooter. That's good. Would you be in favor of something like red flag gun laws? Yeah. There are versions of red flag gun laws that I support. Longer waiting periods are just plain good across the board. You know, there are things that I support. It's just that there are so many firearms. You can buy them illegally pretty easily too. Like the you know, straw sale gun market is just enormous in the United States. Or buy them legally and transport them illegally across state lines. Yeah, it's not like there's a checkpoint every time you cross the state border. The cap slays but feels so unserious. Good. And it suits the tone of the stream. I was busy doing moving prep yesterday. Please forgive me while I familiarize myself with whatever horseshit's taken place over the past 12 hours. Trump says he's only going to give Russia 10 to 12 more days to reach peace. Well, isn't that nice? Trump says he ended friendship with Epstein because he stole people that worked for me. Oh, yeah. I saw this. Audio of this? Yeah, please. So, okay, wait. As long as we're doing our daily, like, here's an update on Trump gaffing over the Epstein business, right? The other day, and it's literally every day with this guy, man. It's every goddamn day. Here's him the other day. Remember, I'm so goddamn smart. Remember how I said that it eats at Trump that he can't own this? That every other miserable, wretched, evil thing Trump has done, he gets to go, what are you gonna do, ah? And then everyone goes, yeah, we love vice, we love immorality, we hate Jesus Christ. We love the Antichrist. But with this one in particular, like, he can't do it. Like, it frustrates him that he can't go, everyone was there. The same way he's in the past said, well, everyone, you know, effectively cheats their taxes or whatever. You have to play audio to play audio. Do you know that? You have to, the audio has to be playing for the audio to play.
That was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth. And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island. Yeah.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal, really. The privilege of going to Rape Island, Child Rape Island. I mean, of course he'd talk like this because he's frustrated he can't take ownership of it. Keep in mind, Epstein's Island was where, like, the NYC socialites went. This was like a top-of-the-line affair, right? In terms of wealth and power, like, it's not like anyone was getting invited to Little St. James. So, of course, in his head, you know, he wants to preserve the prestige of getting to go, because he went many, many times, even as he disavows it. I mean, his brain's soup, but God, please let him do one big slip-up. It's so close. I've seen he's done like 50 big slip-ups, man. The only big slip-up he hasn't done is just get in front of a camera and just say all of it, you know?
Mr. President, Epstein has a certain reputation, obviously. I'm just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
Were some of them young women? Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were young women? What did they do?
In the spa.
In the spa?
Yeah, people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-Lago. And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen...
Incredible. It's not even gaffes, dude. He just says it openly. It's been known for a long time that Ghislaine and Epstein both took girls. I don't know if they were necessarily underage, because it wasn't all underage girls they took, you know. But took girls from Mar-a-Lago, right? Which, you know, kind of lends additional credence to the belief that, well, the fact that Trump and Epstein were close friends, because Mar-a-Lago's been running a long time. Anyway, the fact that Trump would frame this as like, yeah, I had a problem with Epstein. He kept poaching my underage girls. Or, you know, or I'm sorry, young, you know, whatever you prefer. The interviewer asked, you know, were these young girls? And Trump said, you know, I don't want to say. What are you gonna? Whew.
Incredible. You know, persons that include Virginia GAFFE?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know. None whatsoever.
Fucking phenomenal. True, like unrivaled. Generational talent. Can't the reporter just come out and say, did you fuck kids? I swear, if a reporter went up to him and said, you're a very powerful man, you're very respected, you've been very loved your whole life, everyone back in the 80s was fucking kids, you probably were too, right? I genuinely think there's a 50-50 he would say yes, and I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to exaggerate. I honestly think that if you pitched him the right tone, like the right, you gave him the right tee up, I honestly think that he would buy it. Or he would bite it, you know? Why they post this audio in the White House page? Because this was part of a larger conversation with press. You know, engagement on Air Force One. It was all getting recorded by other sources as well, so they just want to have their own source for the audio. They're probably worried about stuff getting selectively edited, so if they post the full, you know, unedited log, they can, you know, challenge any deceptive editing. That being said, I mean, it's Trump, right? You know? Only so much you can do with this one, I feel. Yeah. It is honestly crazy that nobody in the White House is wrangling Trump. Like, it's surprising they're not doing what Biden did, you know? Like, Biden was, like, sheltered by his staff. Why is there nobody following Trump around, essentially going like, no, we got to go here. Don't talk to those people. They can't wrangle him. They're too afraid to. Maybe. Genuinely, yeah. He's a belligerent, arrogant, egotistical old man who loves the spotlight. It's possible they just can't get him away. Like Biden's never been much of a public, you know, performer. It's probably easy to convince him to just chill and lie low in a room for a bit. But Biden was also probably to a large extent aware of his decline, even though he probably thought of it in his head as like, oh, I'm just slowing down a little because I'm old. Trump is probably in complete denial about it. Right? Like, there's no way, like there's no way that Trump thinks that he has lost any mental acuity. In his head, he's probably as sharp as he was 40 years ago. The Azalea Banks argument. Didn't Azalea Banks have a crash out where she basically just like defended pedophilia extensively, like very explicitly? I don't really, it's not really much to go over there, right? I don't know. Funny shit from Trump, though. I tell you, if any journalist pitched him the question the way I suggested they pitch it, I really, truly think there's a decent shot they would do it. Trump says he ended friendship with Epstein because he stole people that worked for me. I can forgive the child sex trafficking, but the underage spa employee poaching I will not tolerate. But then Trump goes ahead and outflanks the Democrats. Trump disagrees with Israeli leaders' claim that there is no starvation in Gaza. So here you go. I don't know. I mean, based on television, I would say not particularly, because those children look very hungry. I don't know. So there you go, folks. That's your trade-off, okay? You get non-pedophilic Democrats who are reflexively defensive of Israel, or Trump, who is pedophilic but only reflexively defensive 70% of the time. Incredible stuff. In my opinion, Trump's a narcissist, not a psychopath, so I think he doesn't actually enjoy seeing starving children. I think that's probably true, yeah. I don't think that Trump actually enjoys bad things, like, in a sadistic way. I think that he's just extremely megalomaniacal and narcissistic. So like if he does bad things, it's always okay. But he does seem to have a somewhat identifiable moral compass, as long as it doesn't relate to him or anything involving loyalty to him. If it involves him or loyalty to him, that's his only moral prerogative. If it doesn't involve those two things, he might have more. Remember when fuck, what's that bitch's name? I'm blanking, the Republican primary candidate who, you know, didn't stand a chance in hell, the woman who hemmed and hawed about some lost cause bullshit. Nikki Haley, thank you. They got Trump in front of a camera and he was like, come on, the South started the war over slavery. That's bullshit. Miller is a perverse psychopath. Yeah, Miller is undeniably a psychopath, 100%, yeah. You see that clip of him? Was that real? That video clip of him when he was like 17 talking about how torture is based in red pilled? He was talking about how torture is based in red pilled before anyone was using words like based in red pilled. Motherfucker might have founded Pole for all we know. Yeah, that was real. Yeah, no, he was talking with sort of like a wanton, gleeful hatred for life and goodness before the internet normalized that behavior. Oh, Capella. Vosh says hemmed and hawed a lot. You know, I say a lot of like folksy Southern stuff, despite being a Californian. I don't know if hemmed and hawed might not be Southern, but it is definitely folksy. You see Capella over there? See Capella's butt? White butt? Right there? Capella! No chats in the way? You can see her. Cats really like the Lizzies? Yeah, I mean, it's like a lava lamp to them, right? I do not want to read this out loud. The Azalea Banks shit. I just don't want to read it out loud. I don't wanna. Do a funny voice. I don't think I can do a voice funny enough to counter the content of the message. Breaking Points had a really hostile video with Slotkin. No kidding. Oh, hold your horses. I like that. Crystal and Saga grilled Dem Senator on Epstein's Iran Israel. Slotkin's the deep state ghoul they're trying to pitch up as like the next generation of you know, Schumer types, right?
Joining us now, Senator Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan. Senator, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Crazy that she would agree to do this, by the way. Crazy that she would agree to do this.
For having me. We have a very limited amount of time. This is
I'm not going to watch the whole thing, probably, but been a while since I've watched a Breaking Point video. They don't DMCA, right? Hey, to my good friends Crystal and Sagar, people with whom I have never disagreed and always been very kind to. Thank you for this blessed feast content. Yum yum. Which senator? Melissa Slotkin, junior senator, just got elected. Despite being centrist, got elected by a higher margin in Michigan than Kamala Harris did. Like, she outperformed Michigan, or Kamala Harris in Michigan in 2024. Oh, Ilyssa, not Melissa. Sorry, Ilyssa. I got it. I got most of the phenomes correct, okay?
Internet, so you're here, and it's important that we ask some of the questions that are animating some of the younger voters and others. I assume that's part of the reason that you're here. The first is about Jeffrey Epstein. This is a story that's really captured a lot of America's interest. So you're a former CIA officer. Do you think that Jeffrey Epstein had any connections to U.S. or Israeli intelligence agencies?
So Not that I've ever seen or heard.
That's a crazy opening pitch. Get right to it.
But there's
Have you
a
asked?
really. No, I haven't asked. But, you know, this is like a solvable question because President Trump's CIA director, John Radcliffe, can answer this question, right? There is no shortage of people in this administration who can answer that question. I would be very surprised. I'm going to be honest. I know your views on it. I would be surprised.
Okay.
But I'm like a Middle East analyst. I was doing my time going after terrorist groups and militias in Iraq. And so I never saw it. I never heard anything about that. I, again, would be surprised, but there's an easy way to solve that problem.
Well, that's the question then. So in terms of, because I know you've expressed some concern about classified information, et cetera, in the past, would you be fine then with the full release of these Trump Epstein files, even if they did reveal an intelligence connection?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, like, it's such a distraction from, in my mind, like what I really.
Oof. Okay, so I'm a little undecided on Slotkin, all right? I think she's an agent of the deep state. That much is obvious. Literal CIA agent, right? But what I'm curious of is how much is she following the waterline and how much is she setting it, you know? So there are people like Chuck Schumer, right? Chuck Schumer is the deep state. However, Chuck Schumer isn't just, you know, idly following a set of guidelines, principles, and consultant biases that he happens to subscribe to. He is an active agent of maintaining things, keeping them a certain way, you know? My job is to keep the left pro-Israel, right? He understands that. He understands what he's doing. He's not just responding to prompts, he's setting them. I'm interested because in her case, she's young. She's not old enough to have had the connections necessary to really like establish that kind of authority. I'm interested in seeing whether she follows the watermark or she tries to set it. Does that make any sense? Either way, deep state, etc., etc. But there is a possibility, however slim, that she sees the writing on the wall and shifts in a way that could be advantageous to us. And it would be advantageous for people like this woman, to acquiesce a little bit to left pressure. But will she? Well, let's watch the damn video.
Care about, which is helping people like live well in Michigan. Just get it over with and get it out. And this wasn't like my issue. It's still not the thing that wakes me up in the morning and I want to work on. But I think it's okay to say it's a full distraction now in Washington. Everyone's talking about it. So just unveil it, do whatever you need to do, answer the questions, and move past it.
Well, that's the last question then. So there's some accusations here from the Republicans on Epstein here, just about, you know, why didn't you care for over 4 years? I know you asked the question in 2020. You said, I don't care particularly about Bill Clinton, et cetera. I mean, that's somewhat understandable, but, you know, we do have like a person, very suspicious circumstances, let alone, you know, the sex trafficking organization, others. So, you know, why don't you answer that question? Like, why is this now is the time that you do care?
Yeah, I mean,
not
obviously,
particularly care.
I mean, it's horrible when you have a pedophile and someone who had a literal pyramid scheme of recruiting 14 and 15-year-old girls for illegal sex. I mean, it's horrible. At the time, I mean, I sort of saw it as like one of these horrible stories that comes out every 5 months, you know, about somebody. I think the Weinstein thing had happened. There weren't Michiganders, to my knowledge, who were involved, you know, women, young girls who were involved. So I kind of saw it as like a horrible moment, but not particularly something that's like going to decide whether someone in my state can buy a house or get a good job. So to me, it was just like it wasn't like a strategic issue.
Got it.
Right?
This is not an entirely indefensible answer, I guess, if you're weighing her heart against a feather. It's stupid politically, but I also don't expect her to be very politically savvy because, again, junior senator, right? When people like Schumer or Pelosi say the Epstein files are distraction, I take that as malicious non-involvement on their part because they're both seasoned enough to know that this is a huge like wedge you can drive against the Republicans. For someone like Slotkin, I think it's potentially a little more reasonable for her to sit there and say, well, it doesn't really affect Michiganders, right? It doesn't actually affect constituents in the day-to-day, so I wasn't focused on it. Why are you being so lenient towards her? Not being lenient. What I'm trying not to do is be reflexive because I still find her career interesting. I'm already positioned against her. Keep this in mind. When I say, oh, I think she's an agent of the deep state, I'm not being flippant, okay? But I think it's important you understand fairly. This is the difference between Marx and every other jackass who pointed out that the fact that factory owners owned everything and the workers owned nothing was evil, right? Marx took the time to sat down and to sit down and try to figure out the underlying logic of how it all worked. I think it's important that people on the left do that.
Right, for me. And then now it just is like grown. And I think there is a difference between saying some rich guy or a former politician was named in those things versus the president of the United States. That to me is apples to oranges, because one of them is leading the free world and one of them's not. So if his name is in there as it appears it is, just like deal with it and let's get on with it at this point. And you know, my 10-year-old nephew understands that the president is trying to dodge, trying to distract, trying to talk about other things. He hates answering this question. Like, we get it. So it feels off to the average person, right? To a 10-year-old, they're like, did he do something, right? So just get through it, get it out, and let's move on to real, for me, like real economic issues.
So then if piece of legislation comes forward, you would vote for it to support the release of the files.
Sure.
Okay, all right. So then let's talk about future to the Democratic Party. I know that's something you've been interested in. Democratic approval hit an all-time low from the Wall Street Journal. At the same time, we've seen the rise more recently of anti-establishment candidates, people like Zoran Mamdani. Give us some of your thoughts there about the future of the Democratic Party, and particularly in the context of Mamdani's victory in New York City.
Well, I guess as a good Midwesterner and Michigander, I'm never going to say that what happens in New York City represents all of America. Sorry, we're a big country, and I would never pretend to totally understand New York City politics. I didn't particularly understand Eric Adams. I didn't particularly understand, I genuinely, right? But I think the message and the hot take out of that election is actually not terribly dissimilar from what we heard in the November election when Trump won, right? Which is people are still focused on the cost of living and not being able to achieve what they thought they could achieve, right? And then number two, people are looking for a new generation of leadership. I don't think.
Okay, I don't necessarily disagree with either of those takeaways.
It's hard to miss those hot takes. I can have plenty of disagreements with what I've heard Mr. Mamdani propose, and I do. But that message coming out of that election.
What do you disagree with?
Just, my family was a fourth generation hot dog business. Like I am here because we live the American dream through capitalism. And so like a lot of free stuff to me is not the answer. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think that it actually fixes the underlying problem. But I can have those disagreements. I think this is I would be thrilled to have that conversation with him or anyone else about like, hey, we agree that there's an economic problem here. What we do to solve it.
Holy shit, this bitch is retarded. I'm operating on a different level to you guys. Unfortunately for you, you don't understand. The default deep state establishment Democrat line to Mamdani has been vague hand-wringing about his alleged anti-Semitism. She's engaging substantively, even if she's wrong. There's a difference here. That's the reason why I wanted to watch this. I wouldn't be as interested in an interview, a sit-down they did with Jeffries or whatever, you know? This is different. There's a different kind of engagement here. But hey, what's she saying about capitalism? Sure, me too. But there is a difference.
Let's have that debate, and adults can debate and not like want to kill each other's children.
Well, let's talk then about leadership. So you just talked about that. We see a lot of that from our show. Some of the Democratic side of our audience is furious with Democratic leadership. I mean, do you still support Chuck Schumer's leadership here?
I'm giving you, hey, cut that down. Trying to eat the damn geckos. I'm just trying to make sure you guys aren't positioned the wrong way here, okay? Don't make me reflexively defend her. You have to properly understand the stuff you criticize, all right? I understand we've been having a fun old time calling, you know, establishment Democrats, deep state, Republicans are all pedophiles. And are these things true? Of course they are. But you need to be substantive and incisive with your criticisms here. She's a different case than a lot of these people. She's been positioned perhaps with more authority than most would expect from a junior senator. The fact that she was the one who gave the response to Trump's State of the Union, you know, address some months back. It's very obvious there are people in power who want to front her as the new generation of centrist leadership. So I'm interested in the way she posits her responses. The fact that she avoided even mentioning anti-Semitism when asked about why she disagrees with Mamdani, that's interesting. Is it possible that it's an actual ideological disagreement? I mean, believe it or not, there are people who are ideologically capitalist. They do, in fact, constitute a majority of the population of this country. Again, it's not about defense. It's about understanding, okay? We're trapped in the torment nexus. We have to understand how it works to get out. It's one of the reasons I'm usually keen on pointing out the difference between Pelosi, Schumer, and Jeffries. And there are meaningful differences ideologically between these three, right? Between Biden and Obama. There are particularities to these people. And it's not always systemic, right? Or systematic. Oftentimes, it's just quirks of people's individual personalities. No matter how powerful institutions get, you can't quite override that, right? You know?
Give an interview in about a month.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I've now served in the Senate for 6 months and the House before that. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have hard jobs, like herding cats. It's not fun. I've said for a very long time, long before I got into the Senate and long before President Biden dropped out, that we need a new generation of leadership. You can feel it in, and I think at this point, I mean, especially New York, right? You're looking at New York, it's like, I'd rather roll the dice with someone new than have like the warmed over leftovers that I've already known. So I think we have a problem with that across the board. And I think one of the things I can do as the youngest Democratic woman in the Senate, and you know, I'm not young, I'm just young for the Senate, to be clear.
You're young for us.
Yeah. I mean, is push on that and try to give younger leaders a voice in this party in a very real way. Yeah. And to me, that's upward pressure. That pressure that you're talking about from the people is good.
So then shouldn't they endorse him? I mean, what kind of a message Schumer and Jeffries, shouldn't they endorse?
They're both from New York.
Donnie, they're both New Yorkers.
Yeah.
And what kind of a message does it send if, like, I mean, this guy won the Democratic primary. Yeah. He is the Democratic nominee.
Yeah.
It was...
The way she talks screams of her being coached by DNC leadership. No. DNC consultants maybe, but not leadership. If she was being coached by people like Schumer, I don't think she'd be speaking this way. I disagree, actually. If anything, it seems to me like she's being positioned as the person who's going to ideologically replace Schumer. You know? You have a senator, centrist, you know, strong connections to sort of establishment mentalities within the Democratic Party, but she doesn't talk the way he does.
Overwhelming if then the centrist leadership of the parties, we can't get behind it.
I mean, you just asked me before we started the exact same question about the Michigan Senate primary, and I'm like, Michigan Democrats don't get involved in primaries. We all are friends. So I can't speak to what they're doing. I think, I hope that...
It's very careful. It's very cordial. And she really likes to play up the Michiganer element, doesn't she? I mean, she's a senator. She's a national politician. Her votes represent the whole country. Obviously, a senator, they rep the state. But, you know, if you're in the Senate, like you're functionally, you're operating at a level where you affect the entire country. But she does like to play up this small town Midwest girl bit, huh?
That they're meeting? I mean, if this person is...
They did.
Yeah, okay.
And Hakeem Jeffries still refused to endorse him. I mean, think about it from this context. Like, let's say in 2028, a more moderate figure wins the Democratic primary, and a bunch of progressives, AOC or whoever says, we're not backing, we don't agree with you. I feel like you would have a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I will say this. The way that this party works is when there's a coalition that sticks together. That's like a numbers issue. That's a data issue. And so I'm always going to be someone who's trying to find unity. That doesn't mean we all agree with each other. And I think I wasn't in the conversations where they met privately. What they debated, what they talked about, I don't know. But to me, we got to figure out what's common among all Democrats right now. And that's why I focus on the economy, because that is, to me, the cost of living and people not being able to achieve what their parents achieved is the existential issue of our time, is the unifying issue of like all the...
So she's an appeaser to the fascists. You motherfuckers aren't listening to a damn word she's saying, are you? It frustrates me to no end. I put effort into trying to talk and learn about this stuff, and then I see all you people just rattling off Twitter points, okay? Pay the fuck attention. It's more complicated than that. Yeah, we get it, you're woke. All of the social credit to your goddamn VGG username. Thank you. Pay attention.
Right wing, left wing, like Americans.
Oh, it's the Trump dance.
I don't even
right
think
there.
It's a Democratic Party thing. And to me, that's where I spend my time, because I think 80% of my constituents in Michigan, that's where they live, is like, I just want to be able to go to Disneyland and take my kids the way my dad took me. So that's where I focus on.
She doesn't believe a word she's saying, dude. She's a politician. I'm not, no shit. Yeah, they lie all the time, but how they lie is important. And also, what exactly were you identifying here as a dishonesty? 'Cause some of the stuff she said here seems sensible enough to me. The idea of like a big tent coalition focusing on kitchen table issues. I don't necessarily agree with the framing, but it seems to me like something somebody could believe in earnest. You think that makes you clever, waving your hand and saying a politician lies? Congratulations, you're in the same boat as 99% of the population for all of human history, okay? Pay attention. Focus. We're probably going to be dealing with her for a long time, maybe decades. It's important that we get our understanding.
I'm happy to sit down with any leader. I can't speak to their particular decision to endorse or not.
But,
I'm not endorsing in my own
Right, but just
primary.
the last question on the...
he won the primary.
Right, that's my question.
That's what's different.
And
By
your-
12,
I'm sorry to
12
ask
points.
this. They have another election, though, yeah?
A general election.
general
Yeah.
election.
He is the Democratic nominee.
I see. I'm sorry. This is why I'm saying I don't follow New York politics. And I think you'd have to ask them. I don't know. I know that for me, whoever wins the Democratic primary in the state of Michigan for the Senate seat that's up, that's who I will endorse, regardless of who it is.
All right, that was my last question.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it to Chris now.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I'm actually a little curious, and forgive me if this is impolite. Like, I'm curious why you wanted to talk to us.
Ah.
Well, like,
Yeah.
we don't have actually a lot of senators, especially ones who have very different ideology than us,
Yeah, no kidding. A sitting senator? That is pretty crazy.
reach out. So I'm curious what your goal was and why you thought to come here.
Well, first of all, I think you have a good audience. I mean, right? If
We
you,
agree.
If you spoke to, if you
Now that was a lie.
appealed to like 4 friends on YouTube or whatever, then I probably wouldn't be here. But I think, to me, part of the problem is that people have kind of gone to their corners. And I live this, right? I live on my family farm in a town that voted heavily for Donald Trump. I've never won my town. I've never won my precinct. I've never won my neighbors. We get along, but I never won them, and I probably never will. So to me, I think that the people have gone to their corners, and like people who used to be able to talk about politics and disagree don't even get in the same room together. So I kind of like the idea of your show. Like, it was interesting to me when my team pitched me, right? We go through, and like, there's no hiding it. Lots of people are like, how do we evolve in this new space?
Yeah.
You know, like that's not you know, it's not that conversation isn't happening. It is, and I think that's good, and to the credit of lots of shows like yours.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I think your show appealed to me as I was being pitched because you guys don't agree. And like, I am very focused. My dad was a lifelong Republican, my mom a lifelong Democrat. Like, Michiganders want to get back to a place where we can disagree on politics.
This might be a sincere ideological bent on her part, because I really do not think any Dem consultants would say, yeah, go on Breaking Points. Go on the show where the audience is frothing at the mouth to hang half of Capitol Hill, and they think the government's keeping alien files. You know? I do not think she would be consulted into doing this. You know? She has some coconuts to be on the show. Yes, she does. That is true. It's not easy. You're setting yourself up to be grilled by 2 people who have basically no filter and won't pre-screen questions with you. And I do trust that for these 2. You know, whatever my disagreements with the show, certainly with Sauger, I do not think Crystal and Sauger would softball an interview and compromise their credibility in that respect. If you look at the comments, like half of them are just calling her a Jew. I'm sure. She's probably heavily media trained, though, like probably pretty good in it. Media training only gets you so far. Getting grilled by 2 people, 2 intelligent people who have a deeply cynical attitude towards your job. No media training can make you good at that. No consultant would suggest that she do something like this. As a sitting senator, it's very interesting. She might actually believe what she's saying here. The idea, this ideological value of everyone getting together and being able to talk.
And not have it be so like bitter.
So I hear you on the idea of like you want to talk about the economics and the unifying and cost of living. And I think that ignores a big elephant in the room, especially when you're talking about even Zoran Mamdani. The reason Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer don't want to endorse him is because of his position on Israel. The single most viral clip that he had in that election actually wasn't about cost of living, even though that's what he wanted to make his campaign about. His opponents, Andrew Cuomo in particular, wanted to make it all about accusing him of anti-Semitism and attacking him for his views on Israel and Palestine. So the most viral moment from that entire campaign, I believe, was this moment on the debate stage. Guys, this is E1. Let me go ahead and play this for you, and then I want to get your reaction.
Probably seen this.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
Fucking incredible. Jesus Christ, man. I still can't believe it.
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not as a Jewish state?
As a state with equal rights.
Now, this was considered very controversial when he said it, and I think the results are in at this point that he didn't win in spite of his position there. He won in part because of it, including, if you listen to Andrew Cuomo's numbers, he won a majority of Jewish voters inside of New York City. And so what I'm curious for your view on is, while, you know, I would love to debate you on your healthcare policy. I think we need Medicare for all. You think public option, your housing policy, et cetera. I'm just being really real with you. I don't really hear what you say if you are still supporting a genocide in Gaza. And that's, for me, you know, I'm speaking for myself, but I know there are millions of other people who feel the same, that you have to at least...
It really is the issue of our time. And it's not because it's more important than like every other issue or should be the most important issue in the mind of every American or anything like that. It's because it's such an obvious yes-no question. It's like a barometer for your legitimacy on every other question, right? It wouldn't matter whether or not the death toll was 500, or 500,000 right now. It is such a straightforward yes and no answer. If you support what Israel's doing, then you're in crazy land. Like it's just it's the clearest, like, does the compass point north issue possible. And the majority of American politicians fail on it. Just straight off the bat, you know?
Cross this sort of moral threshold. And what it indicates to people, and I think part of why, you know, Zoran won so many people in New York City, young people in particular, but Jewish New Yorkers, people across the board, is because it was a sign of, number one, okay, you're focused on New York City first and foremost. Number two, you're willing to take the heat on an issue that is really difficult for you, where you're being overtly smeared as an anti-Semite. And number three, there's no, you know, entrenched interest that's going to control. You have a spine, you have principles, you're willing to stand up for something. And so, you know, I'm curious for your reflections on that because of your voting record and where you've stood on this conflict.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the proudest moments that I had in my last election, where I just won on the same ballot as Donald Trump, was that I won a majority of Jewish voters in Michigan. We have a large Jewish population. And I won Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, and Hamtramck, the 3 Muslim-dominated cities. Trump won...
Wait, does she still support Israel? Oh, yeah. She's offered some light criticisms, but yeah.
2 out of the 3. So I think the thing that I would push back on is the voters... Voters vote with their feet, right? We have a moment in an election where they get to decide. And there was no issue that was more difficult for me in this last, I would say, 6 years, but certainly in this last election, other than this issue, because it's personal.
Why so tone deaf, gloating over her record? Because she understands that she can't answer this question straightforwardly, because it would reveal, well, not reveal, it's already known. It would cement the fact that she supports Israel. So instead, she pretends that it's a question about getting like a broad consensus support. Obviously, that wasn't the question.
I'm a Middle East analyst by training. And so what I tried to do, and why I think I managed to win both those communities, is call balls and strikes, literally up to this week, on what's going on.
So let's talk a little bit more about that.
But I think it's important, right? If you're going to push on me, then I think, like, there's one of us that's had an election and had to appeal to my voters and win. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that Mr. Mamdani won. Or actually, I didn't know his name. I didn't know much about him until he won. But because I think this issue is motivating people in a very visceral and personal way.
Yeah.
But it's not the only issue that my voters in Michigan.
See, now this is Dem consulting brain right here. I'm willing to believe she's being sincere when she talks about the value of bipartisanship. This to me is consultant brain right here. You got to understand, okay? CIA operative, specialty in Middle Eastern foreign relations, right? Jesus Christ, can you imagine a person who's more cemented? Like this, it's the highest possible degree of direct coordination outside of Washington, you know?
Care about.
Of course.
And the online world is extremely, extremely focused on this, but that doesn't always represent the majority. And I think if I can push back, like if we're out on the road every day in Michigan when I'm there. In some communities, that issue is the #1 issue, 100%. And like,
didn't some polling just come out saying that the number of Americans who support Israel is down to only 40%, and within the Democratic Party, it's some insane number, like 10% of Democrats support Israel? Notice how earlier, when it came to Epstein, she wasn't talking about issues that are politically popular or expedient. She was talking about issues that really matter. What is or isn't the distraction? But now that it comes to Israel, now she's like, well, you know, I'm actually very concerned about this, not from the ethical perspective of, you know, supporting or not supporting genocide, but rather like the fiddly, take a look at the margins of support on me, on such and such, you know?
I mean, up till this morning, right? Like people texting my phone and talking about a plan, some of the things we're working on. But I go outside the Detroit area, it's not in the top 40.
But Senator, it's not just a political issue, it's also a moral issue is what I'm trying to get to. So let's talk about those, you know, calling of balls and strikes, if you will. So first of all, do you accept that Israel has a policy of enforcing?
Oh, wow. Yeah, here we go. 32% in U.S. back Israel's military action. Only 32%. Only 32% support Israel's military action. Not Democrats. That's across the board. That is crazy. This just starts back on November 2023. Still way too much? Sure. Republican support has gone upwards. Democrat all the way down to 8%. Independents, 25%. Jesus. 8%. 8% support. Most every Democrat up there on Capitol Hill is laying their life down on the line to defend Israel. 8% support from the party. Why do Republicans care about Israel? They like it when brown people die, and Trump is currently the president. Unfavorable view of Benjamin Netanyahu skyrocketing. This is a good interview.
Worst famine and starvation in the Gaza Strip.
I think I literally put my name on a letter yesterday or last night that says like a policy of starvation, people are starting to starve. And in general, I mean, I served in places like Ramadi and Fallujah. I watched in 2004 and 2005, Al-Qaeda terrorists drag American citizens behind a vehicle until they died, right? Like horrible, and then string them up like a lynching.
Okay.
We still had a responsibility to get aid into Fallujah, despite the fact that we were fighting Al-Qaeda cells in Fallujah. And I have been clear about that.
So this is a crime against humanity. Forced starvation is a crime against humanity.
The occupying power has a responsibility to get aid into the war zone, period.
So
by the law of war.
So in addition, do you accept that the Israeli plan, as reported by Haaretz, as discussed openly by ministers like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, as backed by the President of the United States, is forced ethnic cleansing?
I think we have, as recently as yesterday, the Prime Minister of Israel talking about forced migration into certain areas and then potentially out of the country. That is not legal. That is not on the...
You'll note that she's being very careful. This is the consultancy. Very careful with the language. She doesn't answer yes or no. She said, well, this is happening, but she won't yes or no it.
On any international standards since World War II. And I've been clear about that. So I would ask for a little bit of an open mind.
Well, what I would ask is...
Open mind.
Listen, I'm a YouTuber. You know, I have my words, that's all I have.
Yeah.
But you're a United States Senator. Like you're not the president, but you have power. So what are you going to do? Because so far what we've seen, I mean, you voted for some of the aid that's been used to massacre children and innocents. You know, you have backed Israel, as far as I can tell, you know, from your voting record at almost every turn. You voted for a definition of anti-Semitism that would, you know, codify anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism. You voted as a member of the House to sanction the ICC for indicting Benjamin Netanyahu, who you just admitted is a war criminal, you know, by your own words. So are you going to join Senator Angus King, Senator Bernie Sanders in saying no more aid to this country that is committing war crimes against innocent civilians?
She really is the, I think, like the arch evil or the final boss on this, because in my opinion, her support for Israel is motivated by pure realpolitik. There is no, she's not a Zionist, not ideologically, in my opinion. She doesn't have any moral involvement. She might even find Israel's actions genuinely detestable, but it's not what motivates her behavior. Her behavior is purely like American empire. Our contracts, our financial relationship, our standing. It would fit with her background. Why are people like this? There have always been people like this. Slotkin is a Zionist? Ideologically, I'm not so sure. Obviously in practice she is, but I think it's a means to a greater end. She's not like Biden, you know? I think that to her, this whole business is just a way of projecting American power. So does she think Israel is a big strategic advantage in the area? Yeah, of course.
I think the first thing, if you're asking about what to do with power, and I would offer that right now Democrats own nothing in Washington. So
don't play powerless with me. You're a United States Senator. There are things you can do.
In terms of who runs our foreign policy, I just think it's interesting, right?
You voted the way you voted, lady.
When Democrats were in charge.
There was a protest in Manhattan yesterday.
Okay. I think it's fair to say, just to be honest, that back and forth, like the number of protests that go on now versus before.
Well, they were part of your political coalition.
Well, not to mention, I mean, Senator Slotkin,
that's fair.
Obviously, I'm here.
Yeah.
I was very upset over the Biden administration policy. And as you can tell, I'm very upset over the Trump administration policy.
Yeah.
So let's deal not in strawman, but me and here and now.
In terms of so the tools that I have, the tools that we have in general, to me, the most important thing is a pressurized campaign to get aid into people who are starving. That to me is the number one, because that's the one is urgent and today. And that.
But will you cut off aid to Israel so long as they're committing crimes against humanity?
There is a difference between a weapon to protect a country from incoming missiles versus other type. Offensive and defensive weapons are different.
So would you?
She supported offensive weapons as well. Also, the push to get anti-Zionism reclassified as anti-Semitism in like academic settings and the such. Yeah, no. Man. I guess to her, like, the insistence on aid and ending starvation is probably just more of that, like, she wishes that Israel wouldn't be so fucking crazy, that they shouldn't be uppity, essentially. Like, she would prefer it if Israel just sat there as a military base and occasionally agitated the nearby Arab nations. You know, but it's disruptive and counterproductive for them to be engaged in this project of ethnic cleansing.
Support offensive weapons ban? Like, would you stop any offensive aid to Israel?
That certainly, to me, would be a place to look, but I'm not going to cut off a blanket next sale on a defensive weapon that comes through. No.
I also reject that because, for example, if Senator Salkin, if you were asked to support defensive weapons for Iran, defensive weapons for Russia, you wouldn't back that.
No, but Iran, I mean, but
they're defensive. They're just protecting civilians, right?
Right.
So how is it different?
But because Israel's being shot at. I mean,
well, so is Russia.
So is Iran.
Yeah.
So is Russia.
Ukraine's shooting at Russia right now.
I'm sorry. This is the difference between allies, partners, and adversaries.
Why is it an ally then? What are they doing right now that which makes it an ally?
I think allied relationships, just like Lithuania right now, like an allied relationship or a partner relationship is a long-standing relationship of information sharing and diplomacy. And that is, to me, it's not a like...
Israel is so fucking antagonistic to the United States, dude. It's so funny to go down this road when Israel is like the most belligerent ally. You know. But yeah, no, this is just like great American power stuff, right? This is just... you know, we have decided to prioritize Israel. We have business relations with them. We have contacts. We don't with Iran. We just don't have those relationships with Iran. So we have decided who we support and who we don't. It has nothing to do with morality or even really like consistency or who benefits us the most. It's just what we've decided to do.
Every day we decide Lithuania is our ally or not. We're allied or not. And sometimes we have big breaks with allies. Right? Sometimes we have difficult moments with allies. Sometimes it goes the wrong way with allies. But an allied relationship is a long-term relationship.
It's hard for me to understand why we should ally. Like, I'm sure you believe in, like, or claim to believe in liberal human rights. Why would we ally with a nation that is committing a genocide and live streaming it?
Can I ask literally, like this, I think about this from the mirror image way, because I do not support the things that Donald Trump is doing, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm an American. So
But Trump's not allowed. The stuff Biden did with Israel was just as bad as what Trump's doing. Like, fundamentally, the same basic practices are taking place. The incursions into the West Bank settlements, the crackdown, the illegal expansions, the starvation, the deprivation of aid. Like every, I mean, more time has passed, but it's still the same stuff.
I want other countries to look at America and be like, we can't stand Donald Trump, so we're going to end any longstanding relationship we have with the American people. We're going to cut off any support we give them on information sharing or intelligence sharing. Like, we are not just our elected leaders. And I think that's the thing that's been lost in the conversation.
So B'Tselem and another Israeli human rights organization joined the global consensus, Amnesty International, some 800 scholars. There was a piece from an Israeli scholar in the New York Times in saying this is a genocide. Do you accept, even Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday came out and said it's a genocide. Do you accept that? And if you do, I mean, what responsibility does a United States senator have? For this is a nation that, you know, we send every year billions of dollars to aid that you have, you know, voted for and supported. Like, what responsibility does a United States senator have to prevent genocide and to stop genocide that we see ongoing?
We have a responsibility up till today to ensure that food is getting in.
Is it
so
a
that
genocide?
People don't starve. I don't know that I'd use that term.
Why?
But it is violating the law of war.
Why don't you use the term though?
Because I think, you know, it's, to me, do I think it's ethnic cleansing, which is what I think of in genocide? I don't know if it meets that definition.
They're announcing
but didn't you say it earlier that it was ethnic cleansing? You said that they wanted to force it. I mean, this is open from the Israeli government. Like, they're saying it. Their Minister of National Security, they come out and they're like, we don't need shells. We need shells, not food. And we need to encourage migration.
Look,
they're saying
you're not going to get me to support what the Israeli government is saying right now. Right. I think the point I was trying to make is it's not just about, like, we have relationships with nations over time, regardless of who their leaders are. We have really tough moments. We have...
Dude, right on the money. Yeah. To her, Israel is like a long-term realpolitik investment that has basically nothing to do with what Netanyahu's doing right now. It has nothing to do with Zionism. It's purely like it's an extension financially and militarily of American power. You know, this business right now with Netanyahu is embarrassing and a distraction from what she thinks Israel can and should be, but she can't risk calling it explicitly a genocide or you know, anything too you know, she can't condemn it too aggressively, because if she does, that kind of suggests she has a moral obligation to oppose the state, which she doesn't want to do. You know, she might speak against Netanyahu or any individual thing that Netanyahu or his cabinet are doing right now, but against the state of Israel is just a abstract idea. It's a concept that she thinks serves us and our interests. She's a lot smarter than she seems. Oh no, she's definitely a smart woman. This is just very, 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 very difficult to get away with now. You go back a couple of decades, especially back during the Cold War, and rhetoric like this was much easier to get away with. You know, the idea of like, well, we have to support our allies against the commies. Yeah, they've got a few screws loose, but like the idea of everything is acceptable as long as it furthers our geopolitical interests makes a lot more sense in a world where people think we're fighting for our life, as opposed to a world where, I don't know, Russia is barely managing to scrap with a tiny former Soviet state that's 1/20th its size next door, and China makes all of our clothes. You know, it doesn't sell as well. It's not like supporting the Mujahideen against the, you know, Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. There's not like this pressure that you'd think would lead people to accept moral compromise. Though honestly, given how bad Netanyahu is, even during the Cold War, I think that it still would have been pretty tough to defend them. Like, Netanyahu has objectively been responsible for more Gazan deaths than Pinochet was of his people over the course of his regime, you know, in terms of direct murders, tortures, over years and years. It's really bad.
Easier moments, but that doesn't, so I'm not willing to say that, like, I hate everything ever.
Sure,
into
but
the,
so
the future.
even if you accept that they're committing a genocide, you still wouldn't cut off their aid?
I think that defensive aid and offensive aid are different things, and I think at this point,
so
what
if
they're
Nazi
doing
Germany,
every single day,
if Nazi Germany said we want defensive aid, I mean, it's just you have to see where they're all weapons that are being shipped. You know, in another context,
the weapons that they're using right now, I mean, to be honest, if you look at what's happening on the ground, the military part of this conflict is, for the most part, over. What they are doing,
Senator,
every single day is around aid, and they are hurting people
they have
around the
slaughtered
delivery
over 1,000
of aid.
people who were starving people just trying to get aid.
That is not
you know this.
That's not high intensity bombs. That's not the weapons that that we were talking about 2 years ago. It's just not. I'm sorry. Every single day, the military reports that I read, they are traditional, like, this is a military that has a bad strategy. It is not the bombs that we were seeing 2 years ago.
It's not a military that has a bad strategy. The strategy is forced starvation and ethnic cleansing.
That is not
That's their strategy, and they're accomplishing it very effectively with the full backing of the United States government, including, sadly, Democrats. Well, and so a couple more questions that I know you have to run. You know, I'm curious why you condemned Rashida Tlaib for using the rally chant, you know, from the river to the sea, something she said for her evokes equal rights. And you have not condemned Randy Fine, who said that Gazans should, quote, starve away, who floated that the Gaza Strip should be nuked, who called Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Soran as well, called them Muslim terrorists. Where is the concern over him?
I have no problem condemning Randy Fine, who I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know who that person is. I have no.
All right, lady, I understand you're doing the Michiganer small town such and such bit, but you work at the Capitol building. Like, come on, you for Gore?
Problem condemning someone who talks like that.
Senator, we have to ask your last question because the your staff is telling us. Do you think AIPAC should register as a foreign lobby?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that I know plenty of people who...
Remarkable how much striking moral clarity she manages to summon when talking about the kitchen table issues that affect us all. And yet when it comes to anything involving Israel, all of a sudden it's a whole bunch of confusion and I don't know and I ain't thought about it and so on. Remarkable, really.
Think they should. You know, I don't...
It's kind of a cop-out answer, don't you think?
I mean,
Yeah.
I literally, I just guess I'd have to look at the definition.
Yeah, $500,000 from AIPAC.
I certainly have had my tough moments with that organization. And
so you stop accepting their funding?
You gotta get your facts straight. I have not been endorsed by AIPAC. I have not.
Funding. Slotkin. She said funding, which is public.
I'm sorry. I was the first Jew elected to the Senate that was not endorsed by any Jewish group. AIPAC, J Street.
You've been the recipient of their funds.
In 2018, when I first ran, people who were members, yes. But I've not been endorsed since then. And I just got to be honest, like, I think that this is where facts really matter. I've had very, very difficult conversations with my colleagues in that organization and made a choice back in 2021. So that was the first time I was up for re-election. So I understand that there's a sort of, like, again, cornered position, but to me, like, I call balls and strikes as someone who served in the Middle East.
I have one more question I have to ask you.
Kind of a non-answer there, right? I know she's pitched a lot of non-answers, but that was a particularly non-answer. Took $500,000 from AIPAC affiliates. That's that, right? I mean, I don't know what you want. It happened. They don't do that for no reason. There's a reason why Rashida Tlaib in the same state didn't receive any money from AIPAC affiliates.
You know, we do the show. I really do my best to try to uphold, like, you know, basic human rights, Palestinian humanity, oppose the killing of innocent civilians wherever that happens. And I have to tell you... Again,
I just want to say, and I'm not trying to sound like a psychopath or anything, y'all know I've been consistent about supporting Palestine and fucking hating Israel for a long time now. But it's not even about the morality of the genocide that's taking place. It's a simple moral and empirical barometer that discredits you on every other issue. If you can't speak with any moral clarity on Israel and Palestine, your level of personal involvement, I mean, obviously it matters because the genocide matters, but it's almost immaterial because it washes away every other position you have. It calls into question the legitimacy of everything that you have to say, every belief that you hold. It's so obvious. It's just so obvious, you know? And you know she knows, and I do not for a moment, again, I don't believe Slotkin's ideologically Zionist. She doesn't really talk like one, you know? This is just American power to her. So as a consequence, she is aware of the fact that what Israel is doing right now is horrific. And she, you know, it's just to her, and it's a mathematical calculation. Lying about this and preserving hegemony is more important than whatever kind of moral clarity you would get. Maybe she's defeatist. Maybe she thinks, oh, well, you know, we're not going to stop the MIC by protesting against this anyway. Even if we withheld aid, even if every U.S. politician withheld aid, then what? Then they would just continue committing genocide. What are we going to do? Invade Israel? I don't know what's going on in her head, but I know she knows she's lying.
Like, I feel really guilty that I'm not doing enough. I think all the time about, I'm a mom, I think all the time about those moms who can't feed their babies. Those babies are starving to death. And I just want to know, like, you're in the United States.
Appeal to emotion, argument discredited, Slotkin wins. Sorry, folks.
Senator, you did vote for some of the bombs that were dropped on refugee camps. When kids have been sniped in the head, tents firebombed, people set on fire. The entire Gaza Strip turned into rubble. And now we're seeing these emaciated bodies of babies starving to death every day. And I mean, like,
know what you can do.
Does it eat you up? Does it eat you up? Do you think, like, what more could I do? Do you regret any of your votes? Do you regret
let me tell you what I was working on this morning. A group of Jewish rabbis and Muslim community leaders.
Ooh, she really likes the meeting in the middle business, huh?
came together with a proposal that we are working on just getting, like, if we can't get other aid in, at least get baby formula.
Okay, listen. The reason aid isn't getting in is because the IDF is preventing aid from getting in. That is the reason why. It's not a logistical issue. It's not a difficulty in resource procurement. It is that the government of Israel wants them to starve. That is the only reason the aid's not getting in. There is no extra hurdle, some final push you can make to get baby formula in particular in that would circumvent the processes by which the IDF is currently preventing aid from getting in. They either let it in or they don't. And if they don't, it's deliberate starvation, which is a war crime. That's not even, that's not even to speak of all the aid that gets through that gets lost or destroyed or people get shot trying to access it, you know? It's this ongoing attempt to launder Israel's reputation or act as though there's some kind of like legitimate logistical consideration. Because what other people are going to say in the future, you know, people who apologize for all of this, is that people die in every war, including civilians. And that is true, right? The Allies committed war crimes too. Sure they did, right? Wars tend to involve crimes. It's something people tend to do during wars. There are obviously differences of degree. You know, big difference between, and I'll pitch for America here, if I may. There's a big difference between a bunch of, you know, U.S. infantry moving into a village in Afghanistan. They see a kid who holds something, pulls it up, they shoot, kill the kid. It turns out the kid was just holding you know, like a toy or a stick or something. There's a trial. Involvement is alleged. You know, people are questioned, scrutinized, and then it turns out nobody's, you know, charged or you know, removed from the force or imprisoned or anything. There's a big difference between that and encircling the town and just sieging it and denying it food and water until everyone in it dies. Then you move on. You know, it's just, there are so many moral gray lines in warfare, and it past a point you understand, right? Like, what, you expect the invasion of Normandy to go off without any civilians dying? Let's be realistic here. There are so many levels between that and this. Oh, civilians die sometimes. Yeah, civilians do die sometimes. This is just a blockade of civilians. There's nothing else is going on down there, man. There's certainly not any real war happening. There's no territory being exchanged. There's no Hamas air superiority that's being contested. There's no actual, like, military goal here. It's just an open-air concentration camp. Makes you wonder what the Allies would have thought if at Auschwitz-Birkenau, instead of gas chambers, they just kind of piled folks in there, and then every time they got near the fence, they got shot. All the guards would go, whoa, 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 hold on. They were trying to escape. Would that have done it? Would all the architects of the Holocaust have gotten away with it if they could have pulled this one neat semantic trick that Nuremberg prosecutors don't want you to know about?
And nutritional supplements for children in. Let that be kind of a green light, never has a problem. No one's trying to eat baby formula other than a baby, right? That is the proposal that I've been working on all night and this morning.
I think it's okay if non-babies get food too. I think it's still a genocide if you starve everybody of a population who's above the age of like 1 or however old babies eat baby formula. But that's just my opinion, though.
So in terms of what we're trying to do, there's not a moment that goes by that this isn't something that I'm working on and something that my own community, not online, but my own community has practical things that they want to do. They're willing to raise the money. They're willing to buy the formula. They're willing to do whatever we need to do to get it shipped in. That's how I spend my time.
But you're not willing to cut off aid to Israel?
To me, that to me is the most effective thing that I can do today.
This is a settled question. Your staff is telling us you absolutely have to go. So we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming.
Senator.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I bet they are. As Palestinian children are being starved to death, Israelis have brought their kids to blockade trucks headed to Gaza. Makes sense. People used to bring their kids over to lynchings. Of course, all this is being done with the IDF's permission as well, right? The Israeli government, like, essentially, to whatever range you want to say, permits and or enables activist civilian groups to go there and block the aid. But the IDF also say they won't allow enough aid in. So it's both. Like, the IDF says, no, instead of 600 trucks a day, it's going to be 120. And then the activists come in and they're like, well, we're going to block the 120. Yeah, they've been doing this for a while. I bet you she's going to be around for a while, and mark my words, 20 years from now, she will have always been against this. What's this TikTok I was given?
And I don't think Democratic candidates should take money from AIPAC or vote to fund military support for Israel anymore. Like, I really don't. In this government, absolutely not. And that is...
Oh, no. They've lost pod save.
Especially includes, I think, the next Democratic nominee for president.
Things I want to see Democrats at least calling for is cutting off military assistance to Israel. It's a rich country, by the way. They don't need our $3 billion a year. And hands up, right? Barack Obama signed a 10-year MOU for $3.3 billion a year. Like, so we're part of the problem here. Let's correct it. I would like to see talk about sanctioning Israeli government officials who use genocidal rhetoric or who talk about ethnic cleansing openly. We should support a ceasefire resolution at the UN. We should demand that international press be allowed into the Gaza Strip to report on what's happening without an IDF minder. It's insane. The press still can't go into Gaza and cover what's happening. And I also think, like, there has to be a total mindset change in the Democratic
Party. Well, there were press in Gaza. They just all got killed. More journalists dead than, like, any other conflict ever per capita.
When the war ends, we are not going back to the pre-October 7th status quo, because it's not where the party is. It's not where the world is. We're not going to shovel billions a year in military aid. We're not going to veto every effort to recognize a Palestinian state at the UN. We should not take money from AIPAC. And, like, I will hold out hope for better political leadership in the U.S. and in Israel. But we have to also recognize that the Biden era hug Bibi Netanyahu strategy has to be thrown in the trash can for fucking ever.
Is the tide really turning? I do think that it is. Like, keep in mind, I know that things move slowly over on Capitol Hill, but, like, 8% support for Israeli military action in Gaza within Democrats, 25% support among independents. Look, people like Slotkin are motivated by deep state interests that we're never going to be fully privy to, okay? You know, shadowy conference rooms where people are smoking cigars and such. But at the end of the day, no matter how much it may seem otherwise, politics is responsive to people's interest and will. There's a reason dictators try to keep the people liking them, you know? This is unsustainable. This degree of condemnation across the board is unsustainable. There will be a shift. People like Slotkin are probably going to be the representatives for the opposite side of that shift. So I guess we'll see. Johnny W., you don't have a lot of social awareness, do you? The largest human rights group in Israel is claiming the government's committed genocide? Yeah, sure. All right. Tell them that. God damn it, Rolling Stone. I need a chain. I need a Franco chain or something. You look nice with a cap? I know. All right. What's happening with the EPA? Trump Environmental Protection Agency moves to repeal finding that allows for climate regulation. Didn't we talk about this a couple months ago? It's just been a while moving down the pipeline. There's the 2009 declaration that acknowledges the effect of greenhouse gases and such for climate change. With the declaration gone, the EPA would no longer have to act on the assumption that anthropogenic climate change is real. They're also getting rid of the EPA Office of Research and Development. What have they ever done for me anyway? The endangerment finding is the legal underpinning of a host of climate regulations under the Clean Air Act for motor vehicles, power plants, and other pollution sources that are heating the planet. Yippee! Lee Zeldin announced the proposed rule change on a podcast, of course, ahead of an official announcement set for Tuesday in Indiana. That's great, man. Really? A podcast? Okay. Lee Zeldin, EPA podcast. Give me that clip, would you? Come on. I don't see it in any reputable media. What was this podcast? Anyone got it? Didn't see anything recent. So they're just going to do with a lot of regulations, huh? Well, in a way, it brings it back to local jurisdiction, because with the removal of the Chevron doctrine, a lot of this is going to come down to judicial precedent, lawsuit per lawsuit. It won't be administrative regulation. At the same time, I have no idea what kinds of rulings these judges are going to be able to make when they don't have the EPA's endangerment finding as a predicate for determining what is or isn't acceptable. How, for example, could you sue for damages or anything like that to a company that's belching out a lot of methane gas if methane gas is not recognized by the federal government as a greenhouse gas that is destroying the planet? Suppose we'll see how it goes. Come on, where is it? Why is nobody talking about this? Here's timestamp to the segment. Thank you. Fucking phenomenal. Look at this podcast. The Ruthless Podcast, 131,000 subscribers on YouTube. Front page on the thumbnail, Sydney Sweeney. Oh yeah, and also the director of the Environmental Protection Agency. Sure, sure. Phenomenal, really. Love this administration.
We're really excited about this next interview. There are departments that outweigh one another when it comes to
these people give me the impression they might be a little bit DMCA trigger happy.
Undoing the.
So because of these different mental leaps, and by the way, when
dislikes disabled by owner, pussy.
It's carbon dioxide mixed with all these well-mixed gases, they were only looking at mobile sources like vehicles, but a bunch of those greenhouse gases aren't even emitted from vehicles. Now, why does all of this matter? Like, right out of the gate here, we're getting very wonky on like what this regulation means. Well, then there were all sorts of different vehicle regulations that followed.
So this is like the endangerment finding in and of itself is the hub to the spoke of the left's environmental agenda, essentially.
So this has been referred to as basically driving a dagger into the heart of the climate change religion. Like they're
all right, yeah. Yeah, that all seems about right. Incredible stuff. AI generated white men.
Thank you to
fuck you. Frustrating how much work it takes to build versus how easy it is for them to destroy. Well, good policy isn't enough, right? You also need to build a good democracy, and we failed to do that. Garbage country? Yep. In lighter news, y'all hear the Oklahoma superintendent had himself a taxes moment? This freak is the one who's been saying that we need to like put pro January 6th stuff in school curriculum for the entire state, you know, lost cause shit. Bibles in classrooms. Yeah, huge attention whore, really.
These shocking claims first came to light in a report by the Oklahoman and then the online publication Non-Doc. Tonight, we're hearing for the first time from the third board member who was in the room as this unfolded, and he brought up possible impeachment.
Ryan Walters' reaction to what he saw when he spun around and saw the TV. Something clearly was on that TV that shouldn't.
Oh yeah, sorry, vital context. An Oklahoma Sheriff's Office Monday opened an investigation over reports that images of nude women were displayed on the state's superintendent office television during a meeting with education board members. Walters, a Republican, has spent much of his first term in office lauding President Trump. Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Been on that TV.
The third board member inside State Superintendent Ryan Walters' office speaking out about what was seen on a TV during executive session.
All I can tell you is, having been in the room, not seeing what was on the TV, but seeing the reactions to Becky Carson primarily, she's the one that
blamed the woke left.
The conversation. Why it was on, I don't know.
Former Republican Oklahoma Representative Mark McBride sharing his reaction to the bombshell headline.
I think the board members are professional people. They don't have any reason to lie. He's never taken any responsibility for much of anything that he's done. And I'm not saying that I don't know that he's guilty of this. I believe that the board members,
this guy looks incredible,
saw what they saw.
House Speaker Kyle Hilbert calling for an investigation and demanding Walters to turn over his devices. Mark McBride and Van Danahan say the next move could possibly be impeachment.
I don't even know what the fuck the investigation's over, to be honest with you. I guess this must have been very jarring to a bunch of, stick up your ass Oklahoman conservatives or whatever. So he had like naked women on the TV, and some of the people, they forgot to turn it off or something. And some people from the school board were there for a meeting, and some of them saw it at work. That counts as sexual harassment on his work computer's workplace. No, I agree, it's bad. It's just funny, like police opening an investigation. I mean, usually, if it's a mistake or something, you figured he'd just say, "Oh, no idea how that got there. That'd be that." Apparently, the woman in the room who saw it shoot him out just went into teacher mode in his ass. I want to know what that conversation was.
Possibly the state legislature could begin impeachment proceedings.
Personally, right now, forgetting this, just putting this to the side, I think that test scores being at 50, Oklahoma being at 50 in education, to me, we're at an impeachable offense. Honestly, it falls on Stitt McCall, in my opinion, because, and I mean no disrespect for the governor, but Ryan Walters is a product of Governor Stitt.
We reached out to the Governor Stitt's office today with questions surrounding these allegations against the superintendent and what actions his office may take, but we have not heard back yet. We also reached out to Walters' office again, but haven't heard back either. They did call this report a, quote, junk tabloid.
He apparently doesn't have that many friends. He's brought PragerU into the classrooms. Apparently he called the Oklahoma Teachers Union a terrorist organization. He wanted Oklahoma schools to be required to show children a video of him praying for Donald Trump. That's cool.
New tonight, the governor is responding after reports that nude women were shown on a television behind the state superintendent during an executive session of the Board of Education. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Evan Onstock.
How did this guy get this job? It's Oklahoma.
I'm Jessica Shambach. The governor saying tonight, I trust and appreciate my board members. They are volunteers who are sacrificing their time to serve Oklahoma students. Should these allegations be true, all I can say is that I am profoundly disappointed. Now, according to the Oklahoman, OSDE board members Ryan Dethridge and Becky Carson say they saw nude women on a TV screen behind Superintendent Ryan Walters during that meeting. They described to the Oklahoman that the video appeared to be something from the 1960s.
The incident happened during this closed-door session yesterday. We reached out to both Dethridge and Carson. Neither would confirm what they saw specifically, but Carson said in part, quote, the images that board members were exposed to yesterday in this meeting were inappropriate, to say the least. There has to be accountability. Dethridge also providing a statement saying in part,
he likes that
we
bush.
hold educators to the strictest of standards when it comes to explicit material. The standard for the superintendent should be no different.
And Superintendent Walters telling KOCO some of these board members are blatantly dishonest and cannot hide their political agenda. It is disappointing that they are more interested in creating distractions than getting work done for Oklahoma families.
I fucking love this guy, man.
Yeah, OMS, the Office of Management and Enterprise Services, is asking the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office to look into Ryan Walters' serious allegations. They want to know if anything was illegally done within this building at last week's Board of Education meeting.
So OMES did reach out to us and they asked us to look into it, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Investigations launched Monday into State Superintendent Ryan Walters. Did he have nude women on a TV behind him during last week's Board of Education meeting?
Jesus, never trust a fellow who wears low-rise jeans, a navy orphan suit jacket, a white dress shirt with no tie. Good Lord.
And was any crime committed if so?
And at this point, we simply don't know if there was any type of criminal behavior. That's what this investigation is to look into. Obviously, it's impossible to say what exactly the investigation is going to entail until we start talking with somebody.
Walters denies those allegations made by some State Board of Education members. The state's Bureau of Investigations says they wouldn't be involved unless the sheriff's office finds criminality. Now, we reached out to OMES several times today.
Imagine if they find some really incriminating stuff as a result of the investigation. Personally, I think the reason that this is being played up so much is because everyone already fucking hates him. He is genuinely like a detestable far-right internet troll that memed his way into power over children, mind. And he has made a bunch of enemies and very few friends, partly by being so flagrantly partisan. And do you have any idea how partisan you need to be to get flack for it in Oklahoma? Worst state of the union, arguably. Certainly with regard to education, it's up there. But all he has done is make enemies. It wouldn't be surprising to me if this is just kind of an extension of that.
Out these investigations and didn't hear back, but it's something lawmakers have their eyes on.
We're going to do an investigation on it. I do know that both the House and the Senate, we want to get to the bottom. We don't want to just try to figure out something and say that, well, that's the facts. Let's get to the facts.
Well, we did reach out to the State Department of Education. We even actually stopped by their offices, but we did not hear back. We wanted to see if Superintendent Walters would be able to talk about these allegations since he says they're false.
Tonight we are going in depth on the
I'm almost done. I just think this is kind of funny.
Investigation just now getting underway into what may or may not have happened inside State Superintendent Ryan Walters' office last Thursday. State Board of Education members say they were images of nude women on a screen in the superintendent's office, and the superintendent says he's being attacked for his political stances. The investigation to try to determine what happened started over the weekend, and we got even more details today. The Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office tells Fox 23 News it is now leading the investigation into what happened inside State Superintendent Ryan Walters' office during an executive session last Thursday. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation also tells Fox 23 it is standing.
Ryan Walters' interview in response to this. Yeah, give me his words. Exclusive. Then we'll drop the topic.
Appreciate you talking to us about it.
Oh, shit. From 1 hour ago, Tulsa's News Channel 8, 302 views. And the comments are, your God has not returned, lying liars and the lies they tell. Very good, very good.
It must have been a wild few days for you. I would love to hear what went down. Walk us through what happened during that executive session.
Sure. I mean, what we've seen here is the grossest lies and political attack that the state's ever seen.
Does this guy have any other clothes? We've seen videos of him from multiple days, like today, yesterday, day before, etc. Always the same shirt, jacket, and jeans, or at least some that look like it.
We have a cable TV box back there, and we've got a gross accusation that's already been proven by OMES and the Sheriff's Office to be impossible to have happened. There's no devices connected to that cable TV. It is a cable TV set. We've got board members that are lying and crucifying my character to stop the work we're doing here for Oklahomans. And I will not tolerate these lies, the character assassination. My family has had to hear this nonsense for 4 days of something that is demonstrably false because board members with Governor Stitt decided to tell a lie and spin a narrative that is impossible to be true. So what we're seeing is a political attack to assassinate my character because they're trying to stop the will of Oklahomans to bring education reform. And I'm just absolutely not going to tolerate it.
Sounds like you're looping Governor Stitt in with this. It's a pretty strong accusation.
It's his board. It's his board members that concocted a lie It is his board members that decided to try to disrupt a board meeting. And when that didn't work, they went to the most salacious lie they could come up with and to accuse me of something that is impossible to have happened, that did not happen, that is now provable by 2 independent investigators.
Yeah, I really do not think this is going to play out in his favor. Like, with everything else that's gone on, and now he's like, you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to throw the fucking school board under the bus, you know? Like, Jesus, how many allies can you possibly have at this point?
They haven't released any results of investigations.
And they will be.
But you're
and
saying this is what
they've already been here. We've already done it.
You've talked to them.
Oh, we've already
Both
done it.
agencies.
It is impossible. That is a cable TV device. You turn on a cable TV. That's what was on in the office. This is a lie to assassinate my character. This is something that has been coordinated with the governor's office, with the teachers' unions, with some in the media.
Earlier this year, the far-right governor of Oklahoma blocked this extreme fucker from basically profiling children at school. I remember this. This is getting ridiculous. Governor Stitt calls out Superintendent Walters, says enough is enough. The, again, far-right conservative governor of Oklahoma says he's had enough of the political drama surrounding Superintendent Ryan Walters, especially his proposed rule counting undocumented students. I guess when you're picking on kids, I guess when you're using them as political pawns, this is getting ridiculous. This is a Republican governor talking about undocumented students, and he's like, this guy's too much. This fucking guy is too much. It's pretty funny. The spokesperson for Ryan Walters sent News 4 a statement in response. I'm surprised the governor is willing to pay $450 million towards illegal immigrants in Oklahoma. Not only is the governor ignoring a mandate from the President Trump, he's going against the will of Oklahomans. So he has already explicitly gone after, like, state Republican. Nobody fucking likes this guy, man. Nobody. 0 people like him.
I've seen these media headlines that are outrageous. There are none of my devices connected to that TV. It is a cable TV box. It is an outrageous lie to destroy the work we're doing for Oklahomans. That's what this is. This is a new low. Never seen anything like this in Oklahoma. To see this type of political attack because they don't agree with bringing school choice to parents. They don't agree with an America First agenda. They have tried in every way to disrupt and it hasn't worked. So they went with the most salacious lie on my character to try to disrupt that.
I mean, honestly, when I hear that accusation, that seems as bad or worse as the accusation they made against you. So my question is, what happens to those people if it turns out that they did
Now I see why he agreed to be interviewed by her.
lie? How do you move forward? Do they stay on the board? Did they commit a crime?
They should be resigning immediately. They should be resigning from their posts immediately. This is the most outrageous lie and scandal for political purposes that we've seen in the state. I will never back down to these lies and character assassination attempts that they all know not to be true. They should resign immediately from the board in disgrace over the lies that they perpetrated.
So this was a screen that's just connected to a cable box. The folks saying, hey, just turn over your devices. Did the sheriff's office ask for any of your devices?
We've gone through the entire investigation with both the sheriff's office and OMES.
Did they ask for them?
We've checked all the devices. They have run through everything that they need to determine that that TV has never been connected to these devices. It's, Wendy, it is cable network TV. They are running with a lie to accuse me of somehow having some inappropriate behavior that they know is false. Those are lies, and they should be resigning immediately.
What do you think was on the screen? I mean, you mentioned it's cable TV.
I don't know. It's cable TV.
Do you remember something popping up and having to turn it off?
No, it's cable TV. It's cable TV. I don't know what was on cable TV. I don't know what the lies, where they start, where they end. I don't know. But what I do know is that it's a cable network TV that only has access to cable network TV.
So both of those agencies have come in, they've checked your devices. You are confident they're going to come out and say this is impossible what they're alleging. But you have no plans to turn over any other state devices. I know you're hearing people from your own party saying, hey man, please just give them your devices, clear your name, and we can be done with it. I'm not hearing that.
We just cleared my name. We had 2 independent agencies come in here and do a full investigation. There is nothing that occurred that was inappropriate on my part in any way whatsoever. These are lies. These are lies for political advantages, to assassinate a political opponent. That's what you just saw. And for 4 days, we've had folks in the media running with a salacious lie to destroy me, to attack my family. My kids have got to watch all of this play out, with the teachers' unions pushing this, with this dramatic lie that's going on to try to destroy me, to stop the work we're doing for Oklahomans, and I absolutely will not stop them.
You want the board members to resign. I mean, you mentioned the governor's involvement. This is pretty messy. Any repercussions for him?
I mean, he's got a lot of questions to answer, doesn't he? It's his board doing his will. They fought school choice in the board meeting. They tried to disrupt it. They tried to block more private schools from coming into the state. They then made up the most salacious lie about an elected official that's doing the work of the people of Oklahoma, that's never been engaged in anything like what they're accusing. So he's got a lot of questions to answer. Is that his bidding? Did he tell them to do that? Because you can see the whole board meeting. You can see the way things happen, and things switch the next day after all of those type of conversations. So yeah, I think he's got a lot of questions to answer with us.
Okay, so the timeline is you'll walk in for executive session, the cable TV is on, maybe something was on, you're not sure what it was, it got turned off, that's it. I just want to make sure I have that, because we're hearing so many things.
So many lies. So many lies. That is what happened. That is all that could have happened. So what you're seeing, again, is a political assassination of my character. It is outrageous. We've never seen an attack this coordinated in the state of Oklahoma. And so, absolutely, we will...
They really all do follow the same playbook. I wonder if, when Trump finally does die, I wonder if there's, like, will there be a shift towards a new rhetorical style? If somebody else gets the grand poobah mantle? You know what I mean? Like, eventually I feel like they've got to shift and adopt a new rhetorical style. Right now, the most, like, I am the most persecuted man there has ever been, like that kind of thing, because it's not going to last forever, right?
We have shown that there was nothing inappropriate done by me in any way, shape, or form, and this is absolutely outrageous.
Any chance a staff member was in and just flipping around and left that channel on?
It's cable, network, TV. What is your network showing right now?
I hope not. I hope not nudes.
Okay, well, it's network TV, Wendy. It's cable TV. It's cable TV is what we're talking about here. So this is an outrageous lie by board members to try to disrupt the agenda of the people of Oklahoma. And again, they are appointed by Governor Stitt. These are his appointees.
Absolutely no chance it was a staff member just messing around.
Cable, network, TV. What is on Fox right now?
Oh, probably a judge show.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's network TV. It's cable TV.
Okay.
That is what can only be accessed by a device. It's cable TV.
Any chance that you would want to see criminal charges involved in what's happening to you right now? If they are coordinating this attack like you believe, that is incredibly serious.
We're looking at all options on the table.
Oh, yeah.
So you've spoken with the sheriff. Anything else you feel like they've gotten what they need from you? You're just awaiting their final report?
This is over. We've got 2 independent investigations to show that the accusations made against me cannot be true.
We just haven't heard that from them.
Okay.
We're waiting. No, I mean, I just want to make sure.
So these
but
lies.
You expect that's what they're going to come forward with.
I just met with them. We just went through the whole thing.
Cool.
These lies are the most outrageous thing we've ever seen.
Yeah, you should sue
an elected official.
So we've never seen
it is.
You should sue the governor.
Absurd the levels that the left will go to stop the agenda of the people of Oklahoma.
You think that's really what it is?
That's 100%.
They care that much and they're willing to go that far.
Yes, this is.
Does that terrify you in terms of leading an agency in the state, possibly seeking higher office, that there are people out there who might be willing to go that far? It's so extreme.
I cannot tell if this interviewer is like a devotee, like an insane far-right cultist, or if she understands what he plays into the most and that she could pitch him anything and he'd agree to it. She literally said, like, are you considering criminal, like, pressing charges against the governor? And he's like, oh, really? Yeah, maybe we will. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I will always fight for the people of Oklahoma. I will always fight for the values of the people of Oklahoma. I was elected to do a job. That's what I'm going to continue to fight to do. So I'm not going to back down from, I mean, I get a crazy attack every week, it seems like, but they reached a whole new low with this one, and we absolutely will not tolerate these lies, the salacious lies, the political assassination that they're attempting to do.
Sorry about your kids. Anytime kids are involved, like.
Well, that's what they wanted. That's what they wanted. That's what they wanted out of this, was to crucify my character. What they wanted was my kids getting faced with this, seeing headlines. That's what they intended to do with all of this, and it's absolutely disgusting.
That people on a school board would target children? Your children.
You see the lies that they've peddled about me. They have attempted to disrupt in any way they can, at any price. That's what you have seen over the last 4 days. And it's absolutely outrageous that people that are supposed to be working for the state of Oklahoma for our kids would peddle that kind of lie to try to disrupt the actions that the people of Oklahoma demanded.
I would love to see this cable TV box and screen before we leave, please, so we can just show people this is what they're talking.
She is really funny, dude. She's really fucking funny. I like her a lot.
Talking about. This is what it is. It is not a computer. It is not Ryan's computer. Is there a chance that we can get some sort of visual so people can finally picture what we're talking about?
It's a cable TV box. I mean, it is a TV.
Let me ask your folks just to be like, look, this is what we're talking about here.
I think he's answered the question.
So you won't show.
Do not pan the camera to the right and reveal the fact that it is a smart TV that can be airplayed to.
Us the room, because that's the other thing is, did this happen in your office?
Private office.
It's not his private office, just a private office.
It's his private office.
His private office. Okay, because that's the other thing is.
Yes.
The fact, oh my God, dude, his handlers. The fact that he's looking to them rather than just answering confirms well, obviously he's guilty. Why the fuck would multiple board members just start lying about this? You know, obviously he's the liar here. But the fact that looking at the TV would instantly prove that it's a smart TV.
The stories, it is so hard to keep track, and that's why I'm so glad I'm getting this. This was in Ryan Walter's private office. He says it was a TV connected only to a cable box. This is not like an internet type situation. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think he's covered in great detail.
I just want to make sure I have it right.
So,
but we're unable to see
she's
that.
great.
Wendy, I've told you, this is an outrageous lie. The media has run with lies from board members with a political agenda that is now proven to be false by both two independent groups. This is outrageous, and we should be asking what the governor's involvement was. Does he stand by board members that have peddled the worst lie and scandal in Oklahoma? And we will continue to push back against any kind of lie, any kind of attack on the people of Oklahoma.
But you won't show us the screen.
I just told you, it's a TV, Wendy. It is a TV set.
We'd like to see it, so that's disappointing. But I can't think of any other questions. This certainly adds so much more light to something that's been so murky. So we really appreciate that. Is there anything else that you want us to know? Sounds like you're looking forward to these agencies clearing your name and then perhaps seeing who else might have done some wrongdoing here.
She fucking hates this guy, dude. Oh my God. All right, well, I take back anything negative I implied about her, okay? Fully support. Yeah, big Amy Poehler vibes, for sure, for sure. Huge support.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, we're going to absolutely hold individuals accountable for these outrageous lies that they peddled and the accusations that they made that they knew were false.
This is the TV in question. Is this the TV? Oh my God, it is. It's got the same paneling behind it. Dog, that is obviously a smart TV. You fucking kidding me? There's no way a TV with a profile like that isn't a smart TV. Come on. It's obvious. It's clearly, look, it has the same, there's the same paneling behind. See, right here? And there's the base of the AC. So yeah, presumably the TV is, I'm guessing it's gotten taken down from this corner and that it's seated somewhere to the right. They took it down. That
they have continued to peddle. And also look,
or
the
to his
media needs
left,
to take a
to
real
our
hard
right.
look too at this. People ran with headlines. People ran with salacious lies that were provably false. And there's going to be a lot of consequences for this.
Okay, sounds good. And well, the consequences.
It's literally projecting a PowerPoint there. No. You don't understand, okay? This was on cable. They got local news. They tuned into like 253 Oklahoma or something, and local news put the PowerPoint forward, okay? Yeah, it was public access, exactly. Jesus.
This is for media?
I'm looking at all avenues based on the lies that were perpetrated against me.
Okay, gotcha.
That's so fucking funny, dude. Is this his office though? I don't think this is his office. I mean, the way they the way they were talking was, could we not move the camera over to show it? Which makes me think that it got taken down from the top corner and is over to the right side. Like, because this is his private office, you know? Why would he hinge his defense on the idea that this obvious smart TV is not a smart TV? That isn't the same corner? Oh, you're right. Okay, yeah, no, you're correct. This isn't the same corner because the panels are on this side too. So it must be, if you rotated the camera 90 degrees clockwise, then you'd be looking at the TV, which makes sense because then it's to his left and to her right. Okay, yeah.
Slide. So.
He says it was a TV connected only to a cable box. This is not like an internet type situation. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think he's covered in great detail.
I just want to make sure I have it right.
So.
But we're unable to see that. Or
Wendy, I've told you, this is an outrageous lie. The media has run with lies from board members with a political agenda that is now proven to be false by both two independent groups.
Yeah.
This is outrageous, and we should be asking what the governor's involvement was. Does he stand by board members that have peddled the worst lie and scandal in Oklahoma? And we will continue to push back against any kind of lie, any kind of attack on the people of Oklahoma.
But you won't show us the screen.
I just told you, it's a TV, Wendy. It is a TV set.
We'd like to see it, so that's disappointing.
Sorry.
But I can't think of any other questions. This certainly adds so much more light to something that's been so murky. So we really appreciate that. Is there anything else that you want us to know? Sounds like you're looking forward to these agencies clearing your name and then perhaps seeing who else might have done some wrongdoing here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, we're going to absolutely hold individuals accountable for these outrageous lies that they peddled and the accusations that they made that they knew were false, that they have continued to peddle. And also, look, the media needs to take a real hard look, too, at this. People ran with headlines. People ran with salacious lies that were provably false. And there's going to be a lot of consequences for this.
Okay, sounds good. Hard to keep track, and that's why I'm so glad I'm getting this.
Sure.
This was in Ryan Walters' private office. He says it was a TV connected, not his private office, just a private office. It's a talking about here. So that we can get some sort of visual so people can finally picture what we're talking about.
It's a cable TV box. I mean, it is a TV.
Let me ask your folks just to be like, look, this is what we're talking about here.
See, look, her hand's literally pointed up and to the right. It cuts into camera frame right there. And so they didn't even take it down. It's just right there. Pan the camera a little bit over to the right. You look at a smart TV. All right. It's just really fucking funny, okay? He looks miserable, by the way. He looks absolutely miserable the entire time. Really, 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 really funny. Why did they do this interview in this office? If they didn't want to show her the TV, like, because it makes it look so much worse if you won't pan over to the TV when it's right there. It's in his office. It's not like a secret. Stupid. Please let this be a main channel segment, Vosh. I need more people to hate my state. Damn. I'm sorry you live in Oklahoma. Even if it wasn't a smart TV, that doesn't prove there was no cast device attached. I mean, the whole thing falls at the first hurdle, because there would be no point in having a TV in an office room if it was just a cable TV. There'd be no point. You don't want to show things on it? Are you telling me that every time you want to want to show a PowerPoint, you have to burn it onto a DVD and put it in the DVD player? Come on. Jesus. Oh, yo. If it has an HDMI port, you can use it like that. Yeah, but that wouldn't serve his argument, because if you can connect to via like, his argument is that it's a cable box and nothing else. That it's a television that's so old that it has no way of broadcasting any media from any other device. Yeah, like a CRT TV, which is, yeah. All right. It's goofball shit. It's goofball shit. Oh, speaking of sex pestery, wasn't there someone who got yeeted on Twitter, like, just the other day? Lolo? Isn't it LOL overruled? Is it Lolo overruled or LOL overruled? I thought because he was a lawyer, it's LOL overruled. Lolo is nickname? Okay. Lolo overruled. He was on Western Kabuki and they ended the podcast to start a new one without him before this came out? Huh. Hold on, there was a clip from Hassan's stream. What the fuck is the...
If it's related to Alex Lolo, then that's not drama. That's like straightforward creep shit. Okay, if that's what you guys are referencing as drama, you're a psycho. That's not drama at all.
Drama's a very wide net, a very far-encompassing term. Sorry, I just saw glimpses of this the other day, but I was too busy doing, like, packing up shit to like, know what the fuck it was. He was the fella had the, like, red-haired mustache, right? Yeah? Okay, that's what I mostly remember him for. The Epstein drama situation is crazy. You know that's how they talk about it at Mar-a-Lago. You know that's how they talk about it. Hmm. Okay. Have you seen the ongoing drama with itch.io following their censorious rules that were imposed, or at least like interpretively imposed following MasterCard and Visa? Apparently the devs of the big hit indie game Mouthwashing claim that as a consequence of the new rules, their game got delisted, and then itch.io said their game got delisted a long time ago for a variety of reasons. Also Fear and Hunger. Yeah, also Fear and Hunger. This fucking sucks, dude. Itch.io docs creators FAQ. Is adult content allowed? Don't agree. We don't allow hosting content that includes sexualized images or videos of real-life humans. Fictional, illustrated, rendered content generally fine, assuming it's legal. AI-generated imagery that is designed to resemble photographic content not allowed. Content glorifying sexual violence is not permitted. Depictions of minors, minor presentation suggests minor sexual context not allowed. Receive account suspension. That all makes sense. If you plan to collect money for your content, you must adhere to the acceptable use policy of all the respective payment processors your account utilizes. That's fucking crazy, man. Yeah, so in addition to like our publication rules, get ready to memorize the 600,000 fucking... Oh, dude. Fear and Hunger is some really bad shit. I'm not surprised. Yeah, Fear and Hunger has lots of depictions of sexual violence. That's the least of it. It's a piece of art. It's a really good piece of art. Fear of Hunger and Fear of Hunger Termina are both really good pieces of art. They're artistically challenging. We are unable to support the sale of any works containing these topics. Non-consensual content, real or implied. That's like... Well, there's Fear and Hunger, I guess. These rules would ban Berserk like 100 times over. Can you imagine if every single like movie and piece of art, like we could go through like top 100 video games or movies or books or whatever. Like, oh, does this contain non-consensual sexual activity, real or implied? Was it implied that the protagonist was sexually assaulted when they were a kid? Oh, sorry. Yeah, we can't monetize that. You can't even have that. It's not even about glorifying. It doesn't even say sexual. That's true. Non-consensual in any form. You can't have a shooter game anymore because you're non-consensually ending their lives. It's almost impossible to come up with an exhaustive list of unacceptable products to sell. Really, I don't think it should be like that, personally. Jeez. If you've collected money while in violation of terms, we may be forced to refund or freeze all pending transactions, as accounts that are in violation of our terms are not eligible for payouts. Will they ban Schindler's List? Why not? I haven't watched it. No spoilers, please. Okay. This is pretty counterproductive to capital, all things considered. I think a lot of censors probably imagine the amount of money to be made in media remains a constant, whether or not that media is good, right? Like, I imagine that in Nazi Germany, even though they banned the sale of degenerate art, people are still going to go out there and consume media, even if all they've got to consume is, you know, Triumph of the Will or whatever. They're going to go and watch that. You know, I guess it's just, I don't know, man. Didn't the US have similar rules in Hollywood for a long time? Yeah, and that was bad, and we've moved a long way since then. Though keep in mind, this stuff is being enforced by the fucking payment processors, which is way more sinister. Because it's not even, like, you can't even appeal the rules or challenge them with the platform you're publishing on. Like, you're not even going up to itch.io and saying, well, no, this is a you know, transgressive work of art that should be published. It's fucking MasterCard, you know? Class action time. Yeah, I mean, there is some argument I've heard to be made that the what MasterCard and Visa are pushing for here is illegal, but I don't know. Where are the free speech warriors now? Concerned with other things. On a side note, did you hear about Crystal Ball grilling Alyssa Slotkin on Breaking Points? No, never heard of any such thing. The Gooner right-wingers are 100% all over this. I don't think they are. And also, it's not about Gooner shit. Listen, even if itch.io came out and said, we're only banning explicitly pornographic games or whatever, that would also be censorious and conservative and reactionary. But that's not what they're saying, right? It's an incredibly broad, widespread attack on, I mean, arguably just challenging themes. Non-consensual content. Jesus Christ. Yeah, no one's gooning to Fear and Hunger. Or at the very least, if they are, and they're a wacky kind of guy. Petition against that? These petitions don't do shit.
On the 7th of October 2023, Hamas perpetrated the worst massacre in Israel's history.
I haven't heard of this.
Every day since then, the horror has continued. The hostages are still being held today.
Yep.
The Palestinian people have endured terrible suffering. Now, in Gaza, because of a catastrophic failure of aid, we see starving babies, children too weak to stand, images that will stay with us for a lifetime.
Yep.
The suffering must end. Yesterday, I discussed this with President Trump, and we're mounting a major effort to get humanitarian supplies back in by air, and UK aid has been airdropped into Gaza today, and crucially, by land. We need to see at least 500 trucks entering Gaza every day. But ultimately, the only way to bring this humanitarian crisis to an end is through a long-term settlement. So we are supporting the US, Egyptian and Qatari efforts to secure a vital ceasefire. That ceasefire must be sustainable, and it must lead to a wider peace plan, which we're developing with our international partners. This plan will deliver security and proper governance in Gaza and pave the way for negotiations on a
I really appreciate the mic picking up his shaky breathing. It really contributes to this like desperate tension that his panicky behavior.
State solution. Our goal remains a safe and secure Israel alongside a viable and sovereign Palestinian state. But But right now, that goal is under pressure like never before. I've always said that we will recognize a Palestinian state as a contribution to a proper peace process at the moment of maximum impact for the two-state solution. With that solution now under threat, this is the moment to act. So today, as part of this process towards peace, I can confirm the UK will recognise the State of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire, and commit to a long-term sustainable peace, reviving the prospect of a two-state solution.
I really have to wonder what the motivation was here. Like, I already got everything I needed to know from the headline. We will recognize the statehood of Palestine unless you give in and start allowing aid to come in. If you allow aid to come in, we won't recognize them as a state. Don't force our hand. What the fuck? Genuinely, I have no idea. It's like no one... It's fitting for Starmer, right? It's a political move that literally nobody can be happy with. Zionists won't be happy with it. Anti-Zionists won't be happy with it. It's incredibly weak. Almost impossibly so. Like it doesn't even make sense how weak it is. It's like he's deliberately structuring it to come across as pathetic and groveling as possible. Yeah, apparently this was done because Trump gave Starmer the green light. I don't mind him taking a position on recognizing Palestine, says President after talks at Thornbury Golf Resort in Scotland. Great. What exactly is the point of the Labour Party? And follow-up question, would reform really be that different? Genuinely asking. Like, the Labour Party makes the Democrats look competent. Oh, hey, Anna. Competent and principled. MAGA pundit throws tampon at colleague. All right, well. Hope her new career direction's doing well for her. Dead country? Yeah. Apparently, the UK government is saying that it has no plans to repeal the Online Safety Act in response to the petition. And they have their own petition system in the United Kingdom, enough signatures, and Parliament has to respond to it. So they're already saying they have no intention of rolling it out. So that's cool. The government has no plans to repeal the Online Safety Act and is working closely with Ofcom to implement the Act as quickly and effectively as possible to enable UK users to benefit from its protections. Ofcom is the regulator that has to make sure services fall in line and get compliant, and it has an extremely wide brief. Oh yeah, they're currently, maybe they resolved it. They're fighting with Wikipedia, right? Over whether or not Wikipedia should be allowed in this new censorious internet, because you can look up... I don't know, BAPS? They like BAPS, right? You can look up BAPS. Yeah, you can look up knockers. Wikimedia Foundation challenges UK Online Safety Act regulations. I think this is still getting battled out. Starmer being cucked? What is this? Trump cut Starmer off mid-sentence, orders that's enough, and Starmer obeys.
You mentioned Canada. I think you're trying to find a divide between us that doesn't exist. We're the closest of nations, and we had very good discussions today, but we didn't discuss Canada.
Thank you. Please. Go ahead. Go ahead, yes.
You mentioned
I thought this was very old. I think it might be, because Starmer looks different, right? That's from a few months back, but still bad. Gotcha. God, that's funny. Oh, fake news. Very cleverly edited. Watch the full clip and you can see very clearly he's talking to the journalist, not Starmer. Ah, maybe. Maybe. He does get cut off, though.
And we had very good discussions today, but we didn't
That's
discuss
enough.
Canada.
Thank you. Please. Go ahead.
I choose to believe it. I say it's spiritually true. Doesn't really take away from what we've talked about, right? Sheesh. I don't know, man. It's all pretty fucking grim. Reform pledges to scrap Online Safety Act over free speech concerns. Incredible. They're actually going to outflank the Labour Party on Gooner free speech. Unbelievable. They're going to win. So far, the only statement I've heard from Corbyn on his new party is that they're going to give more money to pensioners. So I'm not exactly like hot out the gates with that guy. Damn, am I a pro-reform voter? Fucking gerontocracy. That's unironically true, though. That's, like, actually true. In the UK, it seems like the only political positions that matter are the ones that serve pensioners. That's it. Like, it seems like this is the extent, it's a certain extent like the case across the Western world, but especially in the United Kingdom, you know? We'll be in the gerontocracy soon. Well, we don't have pensioners is the thing over here in America. We have Social Security, which we will simply allow to run dry. Problem solved. I don't fucking know, man. Well, 500K people have signed up for Corbyn's party so far. Not bad. How does Corbyn feel about the Public Safety Act? Yes, I saw a knob gobbler. Corbyn Public Safety Act. Jeremy Corbyn is not... Has he not spoken on it? Wow, he hasn't spoken on it. Okay. Online Safety Act. Online Safety Act, not Public Safety Act. Yeah. I still don't see anything from Corbyn. I can't see him being keen on it, TBH. Well, he's taken positions that I don't really understand before. I don't know. Don't think he cares about Gooner rights. He should if he wants to represent young people. Also, it's not about, like, Gooner rights. It's about free speech. You know, they don't care about that as much over there. Depressing. Well, folks, I do have some bad news. Unfortunately, I have to go. I am moving soon, and as a consequence, I have a lot of work to do every day. And I'm going to have to read donations tomorrow. Yeah. We had some fun. No donos. Yeah, we'll read them tomorrow. Staying in Seattle? Yes. Be careful in the heat wave. Is there a heat wave right now? Corbyn voted no. Corbyn voted no on the Online Safety Act. Is that true? Hold on. I'm a little bit confused by this. Forgive my confusion. Votes by party, Online Safety Bill program held on the 5th of December, 2022. Okay? 314 ayes, 216 noes. The entire Labour Party voted no. So why is the Labour government now saying they have no intention of changing it? Because the Labour Party is now in government. It's the Labour government that's saying they have no intention of changing it. Because they're cowards? Yeah, but that's crazy. Was there a single Labour yes? Just even one? I don't think there was. No. Not a single Labour yes. And now they're like, oh, nope, not going to change it. I don't think this is the vote. This is another thing. Is it not? Online Safety Bill? It says 2022. Yeah. This bill was passed a long time ago. It's only being implemented now. Oh, sorry. You're forgiven. Grim stuff, folks. Grim stuff. Jesus. Utterly spineless. All right. I love you all very much. Take care. And I will be here tomorrow. Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern merging. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god. Robber barons are back, baby. Yeah, we have one fucking freight company now. God damn it. Okay, I'll go over this tomorrow. I guess that would make it easier for nationalization. Yeah. See you tomorrow. Read donos tomorrow.